Chapter 573, Celestial Slaughter Art, Part 2. Wang Lin's cunning was far beyond normal people's. He only believed 20% of what the man named Shu said. The main reason he chose to enter was due to the trembling coming from the slaughter energy. To be able to affect the slaughter energy, this place will definitely help me master the celestial slaughter art. Wang Lin didn't turn back and disappeared into the depths of the prison. Some things in this world requires us to make a choice. Some things will be lost, but this is something I must do. Wang Lin followed down the stairs, and after one instant of time, the blood-colored light before him intensified. At the bottom of the stairs it was a scarlet world. This place was very large, and the thick layer of blood marks on the ground was very shocking. When he looked around, he couldn't see the boundaries of this place. This was probably an independent space, and it was right below Sky Demon City. In this world, there were many pools of blood on the ground. There were many people in each of the pools of blood, and their eyes were closed as they cultivated inside the blood pools. The hideous injuries on their bodies moved in a strange manner. When Wang Lin entered this place, the 5 strands of slaughter energy flew out. They circled around him and seemed to be releasing bursts of excitement. Wang Lin took a deep breath, and the bloody smell entered his mouth, causing killing intent to fill his body. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he moved and arrived next to a pool of blood. He hesitated a bit before sitting down in the lotus position inside the pool of blood. At the moment, half of his body was immersed in the blood pool. Powerful killing intent entered his body from the blood pool and spread across his body. Every time he breathed, the killing intent inside his body intensified. Every time he cultivated, more killing intent entered his body from the blood pool. Gradually, Wang Lin's eyes became red, and the 5 strands of slaughter energy whistled like they never had before. The killing intent in his heart became stronger and stronger. At first he used celestial spiritual energy to resist it, but after pondering a bit he gave up on doing that. After sealing his mind, he allowed the killing intent free reign over his body. After an unknown amount of time, everyone inside the blood pools opened their eyes, and unimaginable killing intent burst out from their eyes. The explosion of killing intent immediately surrounded the entire scarlet world. People charged out into the air from the blood pools, and murderous roars and shouts filled the area. All of those people had bloodshot eyes. Kill! Kill! Following the roars, each of the people that flew out immediately began to attack the person near them. Their attacks were filled with killing intent. There were a lot of people in the blood pools. Wang Lin spread out his divine sense and found almost 1,000 people. At this moment, much slaughter took place, and the killing intent here was monstrous. Wang Lin's eyes were bloodshot. At this moment, he had already locked his mind. His entire body was no longer in his control and was shrouded in killing intent. He suddenly flew out from the blood pool and let out a thunderous roar. He charged toward the people killing each other like a bloody tornado. A path of slaughter had begun. Wang Lin had lost his consciousness and was completely immersed in killing. Every attack was set to kill. Finger of death, demonic finger, and various treasures were all constantly used. Everywhere he passed, people would die to him. Wang Lin's eyes were completely blood red. Right now the only thing on his mind was to kill. Here, if he didn't kill others, he would be killed by others. This place was a battlefield of slaughter. Wang Lin's entire body was stained by blood. He seemed to be tireless as he charged at every enemy he saw. He didn't even hesitate to use spells that would mean mutual destruction. Everyone that was killed didn't really die. They were affected by the formation here and resurrected in the blood pools. The people here could no longer be considered people. They were more like tools for providing slaughter energy. The slaughter energy created by their killing would be absorbed by the sky and disappear without a trace. This slaughter lasted for a long time before it finally ended. These people all had monstrous killing auras, and their eyes were completely bloodshot. There was no longer any reason left in these people. There was a bit over 100 people remaining, including Wang Lin. The slaughter silently ended. These people all had an intense killing aura around them, which manifested as a 3-foot-wide blood mist. They didn't even look at each other as they scattered, and each looked for a blood pool. The people that just revived would all immediately disperse, allowing those people to have a blood pool all to themselves. Wang Lin's eyes were blood red as he brought his 3-foot-wide blood mist toward a blood pool. The more than a dozen people inside the pool all got up and quickly left. There was a hint of admiration inside their bloodshot eyes. Wang Lin sat by himself inside the blood pool and closed his eyes. After a long time, he opened his eyes once more. The blood red in his eyes gradually disappeared and was replaced by clarity. I believe that the killing heart mentioned by the man named Shu is the heart of slaughter. Only by having a heart of slaughter can I successfully refine slaughter energy. If I don't have a heart of slaughter, it will be very difficult to refine slaughter energy. Those successes from before could only be considered coincidence. Wang Lin took a deep breath and closed his eyes once more to immerse himself in the blood and began comprehending the heart of slaughter. After a long time, the slaughter started once more in this scarlet world. Everyone flew into the air and the slaughter begun once more. This kind of slaughter would happen several times each day. During these slaughters, many people would die, and a few people would have the blood mist around them become stronger and stronger. One day of time quickly passed, and there had been a total of 4 slaughters on this day. Wang Lin lasted until the very end, but the blood mist around him was only several dozen feet wide. Compared to others, it was a lot, but there was one man with black hair who had a blood mist more than 100 feet wide. He floated in the air like a king. After the final slaughter ended, the king-like young man suddenly raised his head and let out a roar. The blood mist around his body suddenly began to churn. Just at this moment, a ray of lightning suddenly flew across the sky. A silver dragon suddenly appeared. It looked coldly at everything below it and then suddenly sucked really hard. This caused the blood mist around everyone to leave their bodies, and it was sucked in by the silver dragon. The king-like young man let out a roar and charged directly at the silver dragon. However, when he only flew up 1,000 feet, the silver dragon turned around. With one gaze from the dragon, the young man's body collapsed. The young man's blood mist was sucked away by the silver dragon. Then the silver dragon disappeared. The VIDEO has reached first place in the ranking but still can't maintain the top position. Urgently wishing for all friends to push a round of VIDEO, Leo is extremely grateful. Chapter 574, Celestial Slaughter Art, Part 3. At the moment the silver dragon disappeared, Wang Lin's eyes revealed a sense of clarity. He understood that the silver dragon was probably the demon emperor's sword that the man named Shu talked about. The slaughter energy produced here was probably food for this demon sword. As for the black-haired youth, although he died, he was resurrected in a blood pool. All of the blood mist around him had disappeared, and he would have to climb back up again. After one day of slaughter, this place became quiet. Wang Lin sat in the pool of blood and comprehended the heart of slaughter. Back when I learned the celestial slaughter art, that person said that because I cultivate the life and death aura, I can cultivate this spell. I finally understand now. Strands of killing intent entered Wang Lin's body from the blood pool. However, there are still some vague details, the relationship between the celestial slaughter art and life and death domain Wang Lin pondered. One night passed, and on the second day, the slaughter began once more. Wang Lin was completely immersed in the slaughter here. He had no idea how much time had passed as the killing intent around him became stronger and stronger. The endless slaughter and endless absorbing of killing intent allowed Wang Lin's body to slowly comprehend the heart of slaughter. When Wang Lin first got here, there would be over 100 people left after each slaughter, but now Wang Lin could easily kill a person with just one finger. His bloodshot gaze swept the area, and there were less than 50 people remaining. The 50 people didn't continue to kill each other but separated and found their own blood pools to cultivate in. After a day of slaughter, the blood mist around Wang Lin had become 50 feet wide. An unknown amount of time passed once more. Another slaughter began. After it ended this time, Wang Lin let out a roar. There were less than 20 people in the sky. The blood mist around Wang Lin was now 70 feet wide, and everyone else's blood mist was also several dozen feet wide. Days passed in this scarlet world. Even though Wang Lin would regain his clarity every now and then, even he didn't know how much time had passed. If it wasn't for the fact that the 5 strands of slaughter energy had changed into life force seals that covered his body, Wang Lin believed he would have already died here many times. With the life force seal around his whole body, Wang Lin was like a powerful tiger that began to separate himself from the rest. On this day, when the last slaughter of the day ended, there were only 2 people left in the sky. One of the 2 people was Wang Lin. The blood mist around his body was now several hundred feet wide. From a distance, he looked like a bloody sun. Before him was the black-haired young man from before. He had once more climbed up to the top, and the blood mist around him wasn't any weaker than Wang Lin's, and in fact was stronger. At this moment, the silver light appeared once more. Its cold gaze fell on Wang Lin and the youth before it sucked. The black-haired youth let out a roar once more as he charged toward the silver dragon. The silver dragon revealed a rare hint of disdain as its giant claws pressed down. At this moment, it felt as if the sky was collapsing. Explosion sounds came from inside the youth as his body shattered into pieces. But right before he died, some of the blood mist entered his body, then his body shattered into pieces. At the same time, the black-haired youth was resurrected inside one of the blood pools. All of the blood mist around him was gone as he silently cultivated in the blood pool and didn't even look at the sky. At this moment, the silver dragon placed its gaze on Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't hesitate to release the blood mists for the silver dragon to absorb. The silver dragon disappeared and Wang Lin landed. As he looked at where the silver dragon disappeared, his eyes regained their clarity. He slowly walked up to a blood pool, and the several people inside the blood pool quickly got up and left. Wang Lin sat by himself inside the blood pool and his eyes retained their clarity. A smile gradually appeared on his face. The smile became larger and larger until he finally burst out in laughter. His laughter echoed in this scarlet world, but no one paid any attention to him, as they were all focused on absorbing killing intent. Celestial slaughter art. To slaughter a life to create a life seal. This is creating life with death, which is in line with reincarnation. A cycle where death creates life seals. This spell was, in fact, just the life and death of reincarnation. The transformation between life and death. That silver dragon was doing the same thing, absorbing all this death to turn it into vitality. The formation here also had the same principle, so it turned out to be like this. Wang Lin's eyes were bright. He had gained enlightenment. At the moment he gained enlightenment, the 5 strands of slaughter energy that were currently acting as life seals around his body quickly appeared before him. They gathered together before his chest to form a giant gray vortex. This vortex spun rapidly before his chest before disappearing inside his body. At this moment, his entire person changed, and a never-before-seen killing aura suddenly appeared in this scarlet world. At this moment, every person in this scarlet world opened their eyes and looked at Wang Lin. Slaughter aura. Wang Lin's voice echoed in his scarlet world. As his celestial slaughter art spread out, sounds of explosions came from the blood pools near Wang Lin. The people that had been killed and resurrected an unknown number of times all exploded, and strands of slaughter energy were formed. In almost an instant, almost 100 strands of slaughter energy were formed. They circled around Wang Lin like gray ghosts. This didn't end. With Wang Lin as the center, all of the people inside the blood pools exploded and turned into gray gas. The entire scarlet world began to collapse. A large amount of gray gas condensed into slaughter energy and circled around Wang Lin. None of the people that collapsed resurrected. This time they died for real. At the moment their bodies collapsed, their eyes revealed clarity for the first time in countless years, and inside that clarity there was a hint of relief. The sounds of explosions and the sight of the gray gas filled the scarlet world. The black-haired youth in the blood pool in the distance suddenly raised his head. His eyes were completely bloodshot, and a thin layer of blood mist appeared around his body. He let out a growl as he clenched his teeth and became the only person who didn't collapse to the celestial slaughter art. 3,792 strands of gray gas circled around Wang Lin's body. He stood up inside the blood pool, and at this moment, there was only him and the black-haired man remaining in this scarlet world. A ray of lightning suddenly appeared in the sky, turning into the silver dragon. The silver dragon that just left had returned, and its large eyes stared at Wang Lin with killing intent. Urgently wishing for all friends to push around a video, Leo is extremely grateful. Chapter 575, The Emperor's Sword's Grievance. This silver dragon stared at Wang Lin before letting out an angry roar. Then its body began to move, and its large claw descended on Wang Lin. When the claw fell from the sky, it was like the heavens itself was falling, and a powerful aura immediately filled the area. Wang Lin raised his head to look at the sky. He had experienced the power of the silver dragon a lot during these past several days. Wang Lin didn't move, but the 3,792 strands of slaughter energy released a powerful killing intent. As this killing intent spread, an aura that could pierce the sky and this world appeared. More than 3,000 slivers of slaughter energy released monstrous killing intent that charged at the silver dragon's claw like a sharp sword. With a bang, the entire scarlet world shook. The silver dragon's claw collapsed under the force of the 3,792 strands of slaughter energy. The silver dragon let out a fierce roar, and its dragon eyes revealed a never-before-seen killing intent. Although it had been injured before in the countless years it has been alive, this was the first time an ant had injured it. Even though that claw wasn't its full power, it was not something mere food could resist. Even demon generals couldn't resist this claw. At this moment it was really angry. As the sword of the demon emperor, it had absolute dignity, so when it was challenged by mere food, it decided to directly obliterate that food. The silver dragon's body moved, and as it roared, a ray of sword energy appeared in its mouth. The moment the sword energy appeared, the scarlet world seemed like it was about to collapse, and the only thing left was this ray of sword energy. The sword energy shot out directly at Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't hesitate at all as his body moved like lightning, but he didn't charge at the silver dragon. Instead, he turned around and charged toward the entrance. The 3,792 strands of slaughter energy caught up to him and turned into life seals one after another. In the blink of an eye, the 3,792 life force seals imprinted onto Wang Lin's forehead and immediately spread over his body. With more than 3,000 life seals around his body, it was like Wang Lin had gained more than 3,000 layers of extra protection. At this moment, the sword energy from the silver dragon landed on Wang Lin. The life seal around Wang Lin began to flash like crazy, and there was a series of crackling sounds. Wang Lin's body didn't stop at all as he disappeared through the entrance. At the moment it disappeared, the black-haired man inside the scarlet world struggled to say, "Save me just once." His voice was very soft. The silver dragon was startled, as its sure-kill sword energy was forcibly stopped by Wang Lin. For it, this was an extreme insult. The silver dragon's anger rose to a new height. It didn't even bother with the black-haired man as its body moved and disappeared without a trace. At the same time, the sword pavilion in the imperial palace was completely empty. There were no decorations here, only a huge blood formation with a serpentine silver sword inserted at the center. At this moment, the serpentine sword suddenly released bursts of sword hymns. Shortly after, the sword flew directly into the sky and pierced through the roof in a ray of silver light. It carried a sword energy that everyone inside Sky Demon City could feel, and it circled once in the sky before charging directly at Hong City. At this moment, all of the commander-in-chiefs and demon generals noticed this sword energy. They all walked outside and looked into the night sky. Inside the imperial mansion, a middle-aged man in a white robe looked at the night sky. His eyes lit up and he muttered, "Who provoked the Emperor's sword to leave the formation?" Demon General Xianxia was also in his own manner as he looked up at the sky. Sun Tao's expression was serious as he looked at the silver light in the sky, and he was extremely shocked. The Emperor's sword flew out on its own. There is something strange about this. Xianxia took a deep breath and his eyes revealed a mysterious light. In Universe City, a black-haired man looked up at the sky from inside his courtyard. He only revealed a figure and didn't show his face as he looked at the silver flash in the sky. He whispered, "This is the wrath of the Emperor's sword. How is the Emperor's sword in the eyes of the two of you?" There were two people behind this person, and they were both carrying large swords behind their backs. Their eyes revealed a mysterious light as they stared at the silver light disappearing into the distance. One of them pondered a bit and slowly said, "It isn't any weaker than Master's sword." "Is that so?" The black-haired man turned around, revealing a very handsome face, and there was also a hint of resolve in that handsome face. He was the #1 demon general, the one who was stationed next to the fire demon country, Mo Fei. However, if one looked closely, this person looks exactly the same as the black-haired youth in Hong prison. Inside the Mo mansion, Mo Lihai's face was filled with shock as he looked at the silver light in the sky. He could clearly see that it was heading toward Hong prison, making his heart skip a beat, and he had a bad premonition. The Emperor's sword. It couldn't be going for Wang Lin. Then Mo Lihai shook his head and said to himself, how could Wang Lin cause the Emperor's sword to move with his cultivation? I am overthinking it. Although he said that, the bad premonition in his heart became stronger and stronger. Inside the royal palace, a person wearing a royal robe looked into the sky and smiled. Could it be that it suffered some injustice? I haven't seen it so angry in a long time. Interesting. Behind the person in the royal robe, An enchanting woman softly said, "Emperor, what are you so happy about?" Wang Lin's body moved like lightning up the stairs in Hong prison. He moved very quickly, and as he ran, the blood in his body boiled. Although the force of that sword energy was deflected by the life seals around his body, it still caused the blood in his body to go crazy. When he went down the stairs, he wasn't T-fast, but now he passed by in a flash. Soon, he arrived at the top of the stairs. The man named Shu was standing there and looking at the sky. He had a strange expression and muttered to himself, "This matter has gotten a bit out of control." Wang Lin appeared in a flash. The moment he appeared, the man named Shu jerked around to look at Wang Lin. After letting out a sigh, he quickly whispered, "You can leave from here? Follow me." With that, he leaped to the side and quickly flew down another path. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, but soon he felt the unimaginable sword energy flying over at lightning speed. He was very familiar with that sword energy. It was the silver dragon. Feeling his scalp go numb, Wang Lin quickly followed the man named Shu. He quickly hid his presence without revealing a hint of himself. The two of them moved extremely fast and disappeared after navigating through Hong prison. Shortly after the two of them left, the Emperor's sword arrived and directly broke through the gate. It swept through the prison, looking for the food that made it lose its dignity. At this moment, on the wall of a residence in Hong City, an opening silently appeared. Wang Lin walked out from the gap. The man named Shu didn't come out but let out a sigh and quickly said, "Dante, forget our agreement." With that, the wall closed, and the man named Shu quickly left. As he ran, he muttered to himself, "That was not worth it. If I knew he was going to lure the Emperor's sword here, then no matter what, I wouldn't have sent him there." Wang Lin had his presence completely hidden. He didn't use celestial spiritual energy to fly but walked rapidly on the street. He could hear sounds of destruction from Hong prison in the distance, along with angry sword hymns. Wang Lin moved even faster. This place wasn't too far from the Mo Mansion. After half an incense stick of time, he arrived at the Mo Mansion. Mo Lihai stood in the courtyard while staring at Hong prison, and he had a feeling of disaster in his heart. At this moment, he immediately saw Wang Lin, and when he noticed how Wang Lin had his presence hidden, he immediately knew what was going on due to how smart he was. He let out a bitter smile as he led Wang Lin to the fake mountain, and with one palm, he created a hole. "This is where I cultivate behind closed doors. You should hide here for a bit." Wang Lin's divine sense spread out before he jumped in without a word. Mo Lihai took a deep breath as he sat down and closed the hole. He began cultivating there like nothing was wrong. This was destined to be a sleepless night for Mo Lihai, and this was the same for the residents of Sky Demon City. The entire Sky Demon City was lit up by silver light throughout the night. After the Emperor's sword wasn't able to find the food that injured it, it became even more angry. It decided to wreck Hong prison before it circled the sky of Sky Demon City as it frantically searched. This made Mo Lihai's job harder. He kept using his demonic spiritual energy cover up Wang Lin's presence so the Emperor's sword couldn't find Wang Lin. The Emperor's sword did notice Mo Lihai, but Mo Lihai had spread out his demonic spiritual energy too much, so the Emperor's sword just swept by. In truth, even if the Emperor's sword looked closely, it still wouldn't be able to find Wang Lin. Wang Lin had completely hidden his aura and entered the heaven-defying bead. He was sitting across from Li Muan's nascent soul. Throughout the night, the Emperor's sword became even more angry. It spent the entire night searching all of Sky Demon City, but it still couldn't find a trace of that despicable food. Its anger continued to grow. This was another insult to it. Early in the morning, the Emperor's sword was filled with unwillingness as it let out a sword hymn. It then turned toward Hong prison and sent out a ray of sword energy that created a rift more than 1,000 feet long. After releasing its anger, the Emperor's sword returned to the formation full of anger. Hong prison was one of the 4 great prisons of Sky Demon City. Although it was damaged by the Emperor's sword, with a lot of manpower and materials, it was quickly repaired. However, the Emperor's sword seemed to have its sight on Hong prison, so whenever it was fixed, the Emperor's sword would appear and destroy it to vent its anger. Embarrassed, I've been remiss in saying thank you. Thank you all for pressing the like button. Thanks to the fellow Taoists for their praise. Chapter 576. Wang Lin, attack me at full power. Another bang came from Hong prison. As the dust and dirt were kicked into the air, The silver sword proudly let out a sword hymn and flew off into the distance. Wang Lin looked at the direction of the Emperor's sword as it flew away, and he faintly smiled. Why is this sword acting like a child? It can find me, so now it has a grudge with Hong Prison. How many times has it been? 10 times. Mo Lihai sat opposite of Wang Lin. He could only bitterly smile, but at the same time, he also admired Wang Lin. If it wasn't for the fact that he was looking at Wang Lin, he wouldn't have been able to find Wang Lin at all. This was proven true by the fact that the Emperor's sword had passed by many times and still wasn't able to find Wang Lin. Thinking about how he didn't even notice Wang Lin leaving the hole a few days ago, his evaluation of Wang Lin increased a lot. In addition to all of this, after Wang Lin came back from Hong Prison, Mo Lihai felt like Wang Lin was like a different person. This was especially true whenever he looked at the flashing symbol on Wang Lin's forehead. This symbol could make his heart jump. He didn't ask for details, but he guessed that for Wang Lin to anger the Emperor's sword, Wang Lin had to have either succeeded in his spell or had a fortunate encounter. What is your current strength? How is your strength compared to back when you were in ancient demon city? After pondering for a long time, Mo Lihai decided to ask. He wanted to know what position he could get in the Demon General competition. There are 2 chances during the Demon General competition. If the Demon General loses, then their helper can fight instead. However, there is a requirement for the helper too. That person can be a native and has to be a foreigner. This is why the Demon General chose Wang Lin. Wang Lin's voice was calm as he slowly said, "Even without that palm, I can still win against you." Mo Lihai stared at Wang Lin. After a long time he laughed and said, "Good. With those words it looks like my effort wasn't wasted. Brother Wang, the Demon Emperor will personally be at the Demon General competition in half a month. If you do well and I nominate you, you will for sure get the position of Demon General." Wang Lin smiled but didn't speak. Mo Lihai pondered a bit and then said, in a serious tone, "Brother Wang, you need to return early today. Tonight, I'll take you to meet someone important." Wang Lin nodded. Then he stood up and said, "Brother Mo can rest assured." The 2 of them looked at each other and both laughed. Mo Lihai felt very happy and smiled. "Then this older brother won't disturb you. You go listen to the zither music." Wang Lin listening to the zither music by the river was not some secret, so Mo Lihai naturally knew. Wang Lin walked out of the Mo mansion. Wang Lin silently sat on the side of the river with a jar of wine that he would occasionally drink from. He looked very calm, and his heart was at peace. During this period of time, Wang Lin would sit here every day, waiting for the boat to pass so he could hear the zither music. However, the music had changed greatly from before. It was now a happy song that hid the sorrow deep within. But Wang Lin didn't try to change it by force. He was just a passerby, and viewed the various emotions with the mentality of a passerby. Even until now, he didn't know what the woman looked like. None of this was important. What was important was that he was listening, earnestly listening. When listening to the zither music that touched the sealed memories in his heart, he had a feeling he hadn't felt in a long time. Wang Lin's heart was extremely calm right now. The zither music arrived before the boats appeared. This seemingly cheerful zither music revealed sadness and helplessness. Following the zither music, the boat slowly arrived. The zither player at the head of the boat still had her back toward Wang Lin. Her jade-like hand moved, creating the zither music that slowly diffused into the air. Today there was only one person sitting before her. This was a young man about 27 or 28 years old. He was wearing a green robe, and although he looked ordinary, he gave off a very clean feeling. There wasn't any demonic spiritual energy about him, as he sat there drinking fine wine and listening to the zither music. The young man placed down the cup and softly asked, "Can you not play like this? I want to hear your music." The woman stopped playing. After pondering for a long time, she nodded, and her jade hands began to play once more. The sadness from the music gradually echoed through the area, as if the music itself had fused with the ripples created by the boat, and spread to the sides of the river. The ripples stopped just before reaching Wang Lin, but the music didn't stop and entered Wang Lin's ears. The youth on the boat slowly closed his eyes and carefully savored the sadness and pain in the zither music. Wang Lin also closed his eyes and became immersed in the zither music. It was as if the music had fused into his mind and wouldn't disappear for a while. The 2 of them, one of them on the boat and one of them on the shore. Although both were comprehending different things, There was now a connection. Wang Lin opened his eyes and looked toward the boat for the first time. His gaze fell on the woman and then moved to the young man. At this moment, this person also opened his eyes and looked at Wang Lin. The two of them looked at each other for a while before Wang Lin raised his jar as a gesture and took a big gulp. The youth on the boat revealed a smile as he raised his cup and drank it all in one gulp. The boat gradually went off into the distance and disappeared from Wang Lin's view. Only the faint zither music would still float in from the distance. The woman on the boat playing the zither turned around toward the shore in the distance. In her eyes, everything was still dark. The youth put down the wine cup and softly said, "There is a person there." Ming Xuan didn't speak. She turned her head around and continued to play the sad music. The young man faintly smiled. What an interesting little fellow. It was night when Wang Lin returned to the Mo mansion. Shortly after, he and Mo Lihai left together and entered Xuan City. Although Xuan City was about the same size as Hong City, it looked completely different. The city was lit up, and among the pedestrians, there were more armored soldiers. Mo Lihai stopped outside a mansion in Xuan City. Then he took out a letter which he passed to the guard outside. The guard took the letter and immediately went inside the mansion. Wang Lin examined the mansion and his gaze stopped at the plaque on the mansion's entrance. Vice Commander-in-Chief Xuan's Mansion. The 8 Commander-in-Chiefs have the same names as the 8 cities of Sky Demon City, but their mansions don't have the word Vice. This is the mansion of Xuan City as Vice Commander-in-Chief. After Mo Lihai said this, he hesitated for a bit and added, Xuan City's Vice Commander-in-Chief has a good personal relationship with the Demon Emperor. Wang Lin nodded. Mo Lihai had already explained in detail about how 2 Vice Commander-in-Chiefs will be chosen during this Demon General competition, and the importance of it all. Shortly after, the guard came back out and respectfully said, "General Mo, Lord Vice Commander-in-Chief welcomes you." Mo Lihai's expression became serious as he walked in, and Wang Lin unhurriedly followed. Under the escort of the guard, Mo Lihai and Wang Lin entered the courtyard. "The Vice Commander-in-Chief will meet General there." The guard paused and pointed at the archway. After that, he respectfully left. Mo Lihai was calm as he walked past the archway with Wang Lin. Inside was a flower garden filled with many exotic flowers. The fragrance of the flowers washed over the two of them. A man wearing purple robes was standing with his back to the two of them and looking up at the sky. He stood there as if he had fused with the surroundings. Wang Lin only took one glance before withdrawing his gaze. This person's cultivation level was equal to that of an early-stage ascendant cultivator who was at the peak and ready to break through at any time. However, until he actually makes that breakthrough, he will still too far from being able to compare to a mid-stage ascendant cultivator. Mo Lihai took a deep breath and respectfully said, "Mo Lihai greets Lord Vice Commander-in-Chief." That person didn't speak. He didn't even move at all. He just stood there looking up at the sky. The surroundings were completely silent. This silence unconsciously transformed into a pressure that surrounded the area. Demon General Mo Lihai was calm, unmoved, and remained quietly standing. As for Wang Lin, cultivators always fought against the heavens, so how could he collapse under this kind of pressure? Wang Lin's expression was calm. Even when he encountered the All-Seer, he was still calm. This person was merely at the early stage of ascendant, far weaker than Zhu Kezi and Situnan. Wang Lin's calmness and Mo Lihai's unmoving nature silently dispersed this pressure. The purple-robed man turned around. His eyes were like lightning as he looked at the two. He looked at them as if he was an elder looking at the younger generation, and he spoke with a tone of superiority. "To be able to stay calm under my pressure, not bad. Mo Lihai, how confident are you in securing the position of Vice Commander-in-Chief?" The purple-robed man spoke very directly and went straight to the point. Mo Lihai pondered a bit and seriously replied, 40%. "Oh?" The purple-robed man's eyes narrowed and he slowly said, "Among the many demon generals that have come to visit me, you have the least amount of confidence." Mo Lihai pointed at Wang Lin and said, "Adding this person, I am 90% confident." The purple-robed man's gaze landed on Wang Lin. His eyes were calm without any fluctuation. It was as if Wang Lin was only an ant in his eyes. He had the qualifications to look at Wang Lin like so, because he was a vice commander-in-chief, good friends with the demon emperor, and had almost 1,000,000 ranks of demonic spiritual energy, which was to equal early-stage ascendant cultivators. He was also on the verge of a breakthrough, making him far above all the other demon generals, and he was merely waiting to become a real commander-in-chief. In his eyes, Wang Lin was merely Mo Lihai's follower. He didn't even consider Mo Lihai worthy, so how could he even care about a follower of Mo Lihai? If it wasn't for the fact that he knew that the demon emperor had his eyes on this Mo Lihai, he wouldn't even have met Mo Lihai, because in his view, Mo Lihai wasn't qualified. Instead of meeting Mo Lihai, he'd rather enjoy the flowers. In Sky Demon City, almost everyone knew how much the Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief liked flowers, especially exotic flowers. He not only liked flowers but also cherished them greatly. If any of the servants accidentally touched a flower, they would be kicked out of the mansion. If anyone dared to harm the flowers, he would take their head. The purple-robed man was a bit impatient in his heart, but he didn't reveal any of it. Display your most powerful spell. Let me see why Mo Lihai thinks you can increase his chance by 50%. The purple-robed man's voice was still calm. In his view, this person was only the late stage of soul transformation, and he would never consider someone like this worthy of his attention. He didn't underestimate Wang Lin. It was more like he had a bland disregard of Wang Lin. Use your full power. If you can make me move, then consider yourself qualified. The purple-robed man looked into the sky and didn't even look at Wang Lin. Wang Lin coldly looked at this person, and without any hesitation, he raised his hand. The slaughter energy gathered on his hand and he pointed forward. Countless slivers of slaughter energy suddenly burst out from his hand. At this moment, a storm of killing intent suddenly surrounded the area. 2,000 strands of slaughter energy burst out from Wang Lin and charged toward the purple-robed man like raging dragons. At the start, the purple-robed man's expression was still the same as before, completely ignoring Wang Lin's existence. However, after an instant, his expression changed as the 2,000 strands of slaughter energy closed in on him. The purple-robed man retreated without any hesitation. Then demonic spiritual energy burst out from his body and took the form of a demonic tiger. However, the moment the demonic tiger took form, it was immediately pierced through by the strands of slaughter energy. The strands of slaughter energy landed directly on the chest of the purple-robed man. The purple-robed man's expression changed greatly as he backed up once more. He even completely disregarded the flowers and stepped right on top of them. At this moment, he had no time to think about the flowers, as all the hair on his body stood up and he was concentrating on how to resist this spell. With his cultivation had he prepared, he wouldn't have been in such a sorry state, but he was looking down on Wang Lin too much. This spell was something that he might not have even been able to withstand even fully prepared. Right now it was too late for him to even feel regret. The blue light screen of the demonic armor appeared 7 inches away from his body, but the moment it appeared, it was hit by the 2,000 strands of slaughter energy and was forced back. Seeing that the armor was about to be pushed back to 3 inches away, the purple-robed man let out a roar. The vein on his head was bulging as he retreated once more, stepping on top of countless flowers that he used to cherish. But the demonic armor couldn't withstand the 2,000 strands of slaughter energy at all, so it suddenly collapsed. 2,000 strands of slaughter energy entered his body and cycled once through his body. Then Wang Lin waved his hand and the slaughter energy left the purple-robed man through his pores and returned to Wang Lin's hand. The purple-robed man's face was extremely pale, and Wang Lin suddenly became a completely different existence. With his peak late-stage soul transformation cultivation and 2,000 strands of slaughter energy, it wasn't hard for him to battle early-stage ascendant cultivators at all. Very good. You have the qualifications. The purple-robed man took a deep breath as he forced himself to reveal a calm expression and squeeze out a smile like an elder looking at the younger generation. Mo Lihai's expression was strange. He suppressed the shock in his heart as he quickly led Wang Lin away. After making sure that the two had already gone far away, the purple-robed man could no longer endure it and coughed out a mouthful of blood. The servant who came in from outside immediately panicked when he saw the scene before him. I won't meet anyone for 3 months. I am going into closed-door cultivation. After leaving those words, the purple-robed man disappeared. Feebly asking, 4,000 words, does that count as a major chapter? Could it be hoping for the like button for the video and the followers too? Chapter Undercurrent. After leaving the Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief's mansion, Mo Lihai's eyes were filled with joy. Many times he wanted to speak, but he hesitated, and in the end he didn't say a word. After returning to the Mo Mansion, Mo Lihai took deep breath, his eyes filled with sincerity, and he said, "Brother Wang, I'll be depending on you during the Demon General competition. I will remember this favor." This was the first time Mo Lihai had spoken to Wang Lin in this tone. In his mind, Wang Lin was no longer equal to him but someone who could force the vice commander-in-chief to retreat several steps with just one spell. Mo Lihai believed that with Wang Lin's help, he could sweep the competition. He understood Wang Lin's spell the most and was extremely shocked. Along the way back, he kept thinking about that spell and imagined himself facing against it. In the end, no matter what, he would lose. Wang Lin's expression wasn't arrogant or proud. He remained calm. At this moment, he smiled and said, "Brother Mo, since I agreed on this matter, I'll definitely help you." Mo Lihai laughed. He was obviously very happy and smiled. "Brother Wang, I have some ancient wine that's been buried for 500 years. Tonight, the two of us will have a drink." Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he smiled as he nodded. At this moment, at the sword pavilion at the center of Sky Demon City, a person wearing yellow robes appeared. He looked at the Imperial Sword Pavilion and smiled. "Played enough? Don't go to Hong Prison anymore. Settle down for a few days." The silver sword inside the formation released several bursts of sword hymns as if it was unwilling to give up. The person laughed. "If you keep being naughty, I'll send you to the Dragon Lake." The Emperor's sword suddenly stopped making sounds as if it had lost all its arrogance and let out a few feeble sword hymns. Although it was acting like this, its anger toward the food that dared to provoke it became even stronger. After the Emperor's sword stopped going to Hong Prison, the Scarlet World at the bottom slowly recovered. More felons were thrown in, and the cycle of slaughter began once more. A black-haired man sat in the blood pool in silence. Strands of killing intent continued to enter his body, and the killing aura around him became stronger and stronger. He would occasionally raise his head, and there was a hint of clarity inside his bloodshot eyes. "I must escape. Like him." When the slaughter began, everyone in the blood pool flew into the air and began killing each other. The black-haired man was like the god of slaughter. His eyes were filled with thick killing intent, and his moves were vicious as he swept through like a raging dragon. After the endless slaughter finished, there was only the black-haired man left in the sky. The people that had just revived all had a calm expressions and didn't even look up at the sky. The blood mist around the black-haired youth was hundreds of feet wide. He took a deep breath and revealed a rare hint of clarity before bolting toward the exit. When he only moved several feet, there was a flash of silver light, and the silver dragon suddenly appeared and threw out its huge claw. The black-haired man inside the blood mist revealed a bitter smile. He used a voice only he could hear and softly said, "Explode!" With one word, his entire body suddenly exploded. Even the blood mist around him exploded, and the force met the silver dragon's claw. A loud echo filled the area. The silver dragon retracted its claws and there were many injuries on its claw. This was like pouring oil on fire, as the silver dragon's hatred for Wang Lin ignited once more. As for the black-haired man, he revived at one of the blood pools. Then he lowered his head and pondered. The silver dragon let out an angry roar, and then its gaze landed on the black-haired man. It let out another roar and a ray of sword energy shot out at the blood pool. The blood pool shattered, and the black-haired youth inside died. This cycle repeated. Every time he revived, the silver dragon killed him. After doing this many times, the silver dragon revealed a proud expression and then disappeared. Since the demon emperor wouldn't let it go to Hong Prison, and it was told to stay still for a few days, it decided to vent its anger here. Let's not talk about Hong Prison for now. There was only half a month left until the battle between the demon generals. There was an oppressive aura around the entire Sky Demon City, and the various demon generals were making their own preparations. Aside from the normal preparations, there were also a lot of behind-the-scenes preparations. Whether it was making secret deals or secretly making moves, the demon emperor completely ignored it all. Although there was order in the demon spirit land, hidden in this order was endless chaos. This was a chaotic time. The battle between the demon generals was very important because this was a heavenly opportunity for the demon generals to move up. If they missed this chance, it might mean they will forever be stuck at the rank of demon general. As a result, these demon generals cared about this matter to an unprecedented degree. Becoming Vice Commander-in-Chief means having the qualifications to become a Commander-in-Chief in the future. In order to achieve this qualification, any method will be used. Although it was a time of chaos, there was still order in this chaos. There was only one rule, and that was that the demon generals couldn't have life and death battles, or else they would be disqualified from the demon general competition. As a result, all of the schemes fell on the helpers of each demon general. Killing the helpers is the same as breaking that demon general's right arm, and for some it even crushes their means to win. Killing the demon general's helpers became the public fight, and the fight in secret was to assassinate the demon generals. Demon generals couldn't kill each other, but their helpers could. They could even hire assassins to do so, and this wouldn't break the rule. However, although this wasn't against the rules, it went against the demon emperor's bottom line. So unless the person who killed the demon general had heavenly cultivation, even if you gave that person wings, it would be hard for that person to escape. They will die without a doubt. After all, the death of a demon general was a big matter for the country. It wouldn't be wrong to say that anyone who relies on assassination is completely desperate. These battles in public and in secret became even more intense as the competition drew closer. Mo Lihai rarely went out and spent most of the day in closed-door cultivation. This allowed him to stay in peak condition and also deliberately avoid many assassination attempts. At the same time, he also set up a formation and arranged many of his old subordinates with high cultivation levels to guard him. During this oppressive time, only Wang Lin was completely calm. His life didn't change. He went out every morning and sat by the river to listen to the zither music. It was as if all this oppression and movement before the great battle were just like passing clouds. Only the zither music was important to him. Every time he heard the zither music, he would be completely immersed in it and would go through a strange experience. Every day his heart was being cleansed. Wang Lin wasn't worried about whether Mo Lihai would be assassinated or not. Mo Lihai was extremely cunning and had far more hands to play than what he currently showed. Wang Lin was very clear about this matter after interacting with him for this long. If Mo Lihai didn't have his methods, there would be no way for him to still be alive while being at the top of demon generals. Wang Lin listened to the zither music from the boat with his eyes closed as he sat beside the river. He picked up the wine jug only to find that it was already empty. He let out a sigh as he opened his eyes and silently looked up at the sky. Every time he heard this zither music, his heart would tremble and he would have the vague feeling of a breakthrough. Unfortunately, his comprehension of the heavens was too ethereal. While listening to the zither music, Wang Lin slowly immersed himself in the music and silently experienced it. The celestial spiritual energy in his body was already used to hiding itself. After all, there was still the demon emperor's sword looking for him. However, just at this moment, he frowned. He was interrupted during his comprehension of the heavens and enjoyment of the music. "You are Mo Lihai's vice general?" A voice filled with contempt forced itself through the zither music and completely shattered the mood of the music. A black-robed man was standing 100 feet from Wang Lin. He had his hand before his chest and a snake-like sword circling him. There was also a trace of impatience on his face. "You may attack. Killing you would be the same as taking one of Mo Lihai's arms." Wang Lin put down the wine jug, but he didn't get up or even look at the person. He pointed his right thumb at the person and the finger of death suddenly shot out as a ray of black light. The moment the black light came out, the surrounding gra immediately withered and the life force from the gra silently entered the black light. The black light quickly closed in on the black-robed man. His expression suddenly changed, and he quickly retreated a few steps. Then the flying sword circling him shot toward the black light in a flash. However, at the moment it touched the black light, the sword began to crack from the tip. The black light pierced through the sword until even the hilt collapsed. The flying sword was turned into countless small fragments in almost an instant. The black-robed man revealed a look of disbelief as he continued to retreat. Unfortunately, he was too slow. The black light broke through the flying sword and landed on the black-robed man's chest. This person's body was thrown far away in an arc, and blood mist erupted from his body on the way. Even after the man fell to the ground, the blood mist stayed in the sky. When the black-robed man fell on the ground, his eyes revealed a hint of remorse before they went completely dim. At the same time, a strand of gray gas came out from his body and disappeared into Wang Lin's right hand. This person wasn't a foreigner, but a person of demon spirit land. This person's cultivation level wasn't high. He was only at the level of a late-stage soul formation cultivator. He was probably sent by some demon general that didn't know him as a way of scouting him. Wang Lin continued to listen to that zither music. Leo dreams of getting a lot of likes for this video, having many followers, plenty of shares, and everyone praising his good reading and the number of words he can read. So happy. Chapter 578 Tao of Slaughter. On the second floor of a 2-story restaurant 10,000 feet across the river from Wang Lin, 2 people sat by the window, and their gazes turned toward Wang Lin. Both men were wearing black robes. One of them was older while the other was a bit young. The older man said, "Very strong." The young man's eyes lit up as he slowly said, "That person should be at the soul transformation stage. No matter what his cultivation level is, since the ancestor wants to catch him, he can get away." The older man picked up his cup and took a drink. The older man then said, "Send the people over. Don't make the ancestor wait." The young man faintly smiled and gently knocked the table. With that knock, one of the several people wearing black robes that was sitting on the first floor stood up. This person was middle-aged and had star-like eyes. He walked out of the restaurant and flew toward Wang Lin in a ray of sword energy. Wang Lin was sitting beside the river. The boat was halfway across the river, but bursts of zither music still entered his ears. He was completely immersed in it, and his face revealed a sense of peace. The sword energy carried a powerful killing intent as it flew toward Wang Lin. Right now there wasn't a single person within a few kilometers. It was as if this area was deserted. The boat on the river seemed to have noticed this abnormality and immediately sped up. The sword energy suddenly closed in and crossed the 10,000 feet in an instant. All of the grass around Wang Lin tilted to one side as if there was a powerful wind. The strong bursts of whistling sounds mixed with the zither music had its own charm. Wang Lin still didn't turn his head, or even looked at the person. He raised his right thumb at the incoming sword energy and once again used the finger of death. The ray of black light shot out once more. It was extremely quick as it charged at the sword energy. In almost an instant, the 2 sides collided. A groan came from the sword energy as it collapsed, revealing the figure of a man. His face was extremely pale, and he coughed out a mouthful of blood before retreating like crazy. Almost without any hesitation, he retreated even more. However, the finger of death was too fast, so it caught up to the person in a flash and imprinted in his chest. The man let out a roar and released a large amount of demonic spiritual energy. His body was forced to land, but he continued to be pushed back. In the end, the demonic spiritual energy around him collapsed, and he coughed out blood once more and fell to the ground. A strand of gray gas flew out from his body toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin still didn't bother to pay attention to where the finger of death went, and continued to silently listen to the zither music. In the restaurant 10,000 feet away, the young man immediately stood up and stared at Wang Lin on the other side of the river. After a long time, he took a deep breath and then sat back down. Only the older man's expression was still the same as before. The younger man said, in a serious tone, "He has restrained his energy, so we can see his exact cultivation level." The older man stared at Wang Lin and slowly said, "This person's cultivation level should be at the mid-stage of soul transformation. Only then could he have killed number 4, who had the same cultivation level as an early-stage soul transformation cultivator, like this. Send number 3. The young man's eyes lit up, revealing a hint of battle intent. He shook his head and softly said, "No need to send number 3, I'll go." As he spoke, he stood up once more and looked at Wang Lin. "You," the older man frowned. "Don't forget, I am number 2. The young man walked down the restaurant. Number 2 seconds cultivation level is equivalent to a late-stage soul transformation cultivator, and he is only a sliver away from the peak of the late stage of soul transformation. With him going, this battle has no suspense. The older man picked up the wine cup and didn't even look across the river anymore. As the young man walked out from the restaurant, a breeze from the river blew his clothes back. He walked against the wind as he slowly made his way toward Wang Lin. He walked across the 10,000 feet distance very calmly, as if he was walking in his own garden. Every step he took increased his aura's strength as if it would continue to increase endlessly. He stopped 300 feet from Wang Lin. The current him was completely surrounded by demonic spiritual energy. But what was strange was that there was some celestial spiritual energy mixed in with his demonic spiritual energy. The fusion of celestial and demonic spiritual energies created a strange aura that slowly filled the area. He stood there like he was the master of this space, as if he could make the world change colors with a wave of his hand. Wang Lin didn't look at the person. The boat on the river slowly disappeared into the distance, and the sound of the zither music slowly entered his ears and gave him a special feeling. As for the person 300 feet away, Wang Lin casually waved his hand, and the finger of death appeared once more. The finger of death materialized as a ray of black light once more before Wang Lin and shot toward the young man like a bolt of lightning. The young man chuckled. Instead of retreating, he took a step forward and his right hand formed a seal. The celestial demonic spiritual energy around him immediately condensed near his hand and formed a ball of light the size of his fist. The moment the ball of light appeared was when the finger of death arrived. The two sides collided without any hesitation, and the black light of the finger of death seemed to be absorbed into the ball of light. The young man said, "You overestimate yourself." However, just as he finished speaking, his expression changed. A strand of black mist suddenly appeared in the ball of light. In almost an instant, the black mist filled the ball, and it turned into a black ball of light. At the same time, cracks appeared on the ball. The young man's expression turned gloomy as the ball shattered, and the black light charged directly at him. As he quickly retreated, his hand formed seals, and one by one balls of light appeared. In almost an instant, more than 100 balls of light appeared and went to block the ray of black light. The black light continued to disappear and reappear, while the balls of light continued to collapse one after the other. However, every time a ball of light collapsed, the black light would become dimmer. When there were only 8 balls of light left, the ray of black light completely disappeared. The youth's forehead was covered in sweat as he took a deep breath, looked at Wang Lin, who still hadn't looked at him yet, and said, "I presume this black light spell is your strongest move." "I admit this spell is indeed powerful. No wonder numbers 4 and 5 died. However, now that your strongest spell was broken by me, I want to see what other moves you have." At this moment, the boat gradually disappeared into the distance, and the zither music disappeared from Wang Lin's ears. Wang Lin stood up and turned toward the young man. He suddenly opened his eyes, revealing a trace of red within them. Then slaughter aura shot out from Wang Lin's eyes like a sharp sword. Rumble, rumble, rumble. It was as if countless thunderbolts had suddenly appeared in the young man's mind. It was as if real thunderbolts had appeared above the peaceful river. A monstrous killing intent shot out from Wang Lin's eyes and immediately pierced through the young man's celestial demonic spiritual energy, entered through his eyes and imprinted into his mind. His body stiffened as if he had been hit by lightning, and his limbs began to tremble uncontrollably. This is the young man's heart trembled, and his scalp felt numb. There was a sensation of pain from between his brows as if a sword had pierced through his forehead. The young man could clearly hear his heartbeat quickly speed up, and he felt like his mind was about to collapse. Then his body turned cold as if he was facing an enemy naked. The powerful aura he had created as he walked over completely collapsed with just one gaze. All of the black-robed men that were looking over from the first floor of the restaurant revealed looks of shock. Although they were all far away, it felt like they were right there at this moment. The sweat coming out from their bodies immediately soaked their clothes. With their cultivation levels, they had no idea why this happened, why a gaze from 10,000 feet away could make it feel like there was a sword at their throats and make it feel like death was closing in on them. It was as if that man 10,000 feet away had turned into the god of slaughter. On the second floor, the older man's eyes lit up. Then he quickly stood up and immediately caused the table before him to explode. His calm face suddenly changed greatly. The celestial demonic spiritual energy in his body surged like a raging dragon by instinct. Everything he did was subconscious. He felt like if he hadn't resisted against that gaze, he would have been seriously injured and would have died. His eyes were filled with uncertainty. The killing intent from that gaze just now was also solid. Tao of slaughter. This is the Tao of slaughter. How many people has that person killed to have the kind of gaze where the killing intent almost feels solid? He is very strong. Very strong. His gaze toward Wang Lin became very serious, and he only ever looked this serious when he was facing the celestial guardians. Simply too terrifying. Although my cultivation level is the same as his, I am definitely not a match for him. I must quickly leave. This person didn't hesitate. His body moved and was about to teleport, but he was immediately forced out of the void. His expression changed greatly, and he no longer tried to teleport and immediately got up. The celestial demonic spiritual energy he released at this moment made the second floor collapse. He burst out from the restaurant and was about to flee no matter what the cost. But he immediately stopped in the sky as cold sweat came out from his entire body. Wang Lin was 10 feet before him, calmly looking at him. "You disturbed my cultivation and still want to leave?" The older man revealed a bitter smile, and his eyes contained a hint of madness. Without any hesitation, he touched the seal he was never willing to touch in his life, and the celestial demonic spiritual energy in his body immediately exploded. A destructive aura surrounded the collapsing restaurant, creating a series of rumbling sounds. After the loud explosion, everything within 1,000 feet was completely silent. Wang Lin appeared 1,000 feet away. Although his expression was normal, there was a hint of gloominess in his eyes. He gently patted the dust off his cloth, and then walked into the distance. On the river, the young man's body slowly fell as strands of gray gas came out from his body and chased after Wang Lin. 3,000 words in a major chapter. Wish that the like button for the video would break. Chapter 579, Ling Tianhu's Sword Energy, Part 1. A chuckle came from a very elegant palace in the imperial city of Sky Demon City. Could it be that this little fellow wants to challenge Mo Lihai to battle with him before the demon general competition begins, and wishes to use the military merit he earned while fighting against the fire demon? Country so I can refuse him. This brat is interesting, I'll allow it. Another old voice appeared in the palace. This demon emperor, if the two of them set a precedent, I'm afraid the other demon generals will. If anyone else has 10,000 military merit points, then I'll allow them to do it too. Yes. Shortly after, an old man walked out from the palace holding a scroll. He shook his head slightly, and then quickly left. The day of the demon general competition grew closer and closer. The entire Sky Demon City was surrounded by an oppressive atmosphere, and there were countless battles every day. Wang Lin was sitting on the side of the river as he put down the wine jug, looked at the sky, and muttered to himself, "This is a game. A game in the demon emperor's eyes. In the demon emperor's view, the foreigners are killing each other with the goal of helping the demon generals to obtain a higher position. This is the best kind of game." Wang Lin took a drink. His eyes were filled with clarity. He pondered for a bit before standing up and gradually walking away. It was already the 7th day, so there were still 8 days until the demon general competition. It was now dusk, and because of the oppressive aura around Sky Demon City, there were fewer and fewer pedestrians. A young man wearing a green robe was slowly walking toward the Mo mansion from 1,000 feet away. This person carried a large sword behind his back, and his expression was extremely calm as he walked toward the Mo mansion. As he closed in, a faint amount of celestial spiritual energy slowly spread out. At the same time, an oppressive aura surrounded the entire Mo mansion. Inside the Mo mansion, Mo Lihai was cultivating inside his secret chamber. There were 17 hand-sized puppets releasing demonic light and floating around his body. Bursts of demonic spiritual energy spread out from Mo Lihai. This demonic spiritual energy was connecting with the 17 puppets and creating a perfect cycle. At this moment, Mo Lihai suddenly opened his eyes. His gaze was like lightning and seemed to be able to penetrate the secret chamber to see the man outside the Mo mansion. The man released a sound of surprise and revealed a faint smile. He didn't stop as he arrived before the Mo mansion. He didn't seem to use any spells, but the gate to the Mo mansion was reduced pieces and was blown back. While the debris was blowing back, 2 miserable groans were heard. A large amount of blood mist gushed out from 2 guards as they were thrown into the depths of the mansion. Dao Lu's sword, Sect's 12th sword. Mo Yang wishes to greet Lord Mo Lihai. A calm voice came out from his mouth. He didn't stop as he walked into the Mo mansion and made his way toward the secret chamber where Mo Lihai was in closed-door cultivation. Countless soldiers and Mo Lihai as subordinates all rushed over. However, anyone who got within 10 feet of this person would silently shatter into a bloody mist. Along the way, there were many sounds of explosions, and no one could stop him. Even some of the buildings and fake mountains were destroyed, just like the gate was. Just at this moment, a short figure appeared before him. The moment this figure appeared, all of the demonic spiritual energy in his body spread out to resist this man from the Dalu sword sect. The man from the Dalu sword sect slightly shook his head and continued to walk forward without stopping. The short person's face paled. He had a feeling he wasn't facing a person but a sword. A sword that had already revealed its sharpness. The short person involuntarily stepped back. When he retreated several feet, a hand pushed up against his back. At this moment, the short person let out a deep breath of relief. 3 people had appeared behind him. The 3 of them were all white-haired old men. They stood there and coldly looked at the man from the Dalu sword sect. The man from the Dalu sword sect's gaze landed on the 3 old men. Then he faintly smiled and continued to walk forward. The 3 old men revealed serious expressions and were about to use their spells when a low voice suddenly appeared from behind them. "Who sent you?" This voice was filled with majesty. The 3 elders immediately and respectfully moved out of the way, revealing Mo Lihai's imposing figure. When Mo Lihai looked at the young man from the Dalu sword sect, his eyes were as bright as burning flames. This aura right now was even more imposing than when he faced Wang Lin in ancient Demon City. The man from the Dalu sword sect's eyes lit up as he stopped and said, "Demon General Mo Fei." Mo Lihai frowned and shouted, "What is it?" "I am here to deliver a challenge letter for General Mo Lihai from Lord Mo Fei." The young man calmly waved his hand and a ray of golden light shot out before stopping before Mo Lihai. Mo Lihai's expression was gloomy as he looked at the golden token before him. There was only one word on it: battle. 3 days from now, outside the ancient path hall. After the man from the Dalu sword sect finished speaking, he turned around and left. But just as he turned around, his entire body stiffened and he released a powerful aura. This aura was extremely powerful, far more powerful than the one he emitted when he entered the Mo mansion. His eyes glowed brightly as he looked at a slender figure that had appeared 1,000 feet before him and said, "Purple Division STH Disciple, Wang Lin." Mo Lihai only noticed Wang Lin's appearance now, and this made him relax a bit. Wang Lin didn't even look at the person and continued to walk forward. However, in the view of the man from the Dalu sword sect, there was a hint of anger. The man from the Dalu sword sect coldly said, "Rumor has it that the disciple of the Purple Division is extremely arrogant. Seeing you today, it looks like the rumors are true." Wang Lin walked toward the person as if he hadn't heard him at all. The man from the Dalu sword sect's aura surged out and locked on to Wang Lin like an unsheathed sword. Just at the moment his aura reached its peak, Wang Lin passed him by without even pausing. The man from the Dalu sword sect was startled, but he immediately became even more angry. He turned around to look at Wang Lin, who was walking away, and shouted, "Wang Lin, did you hear me?" Wang Lin continued to walk toward his living quarters. The eyes of the man from the Dalu sword sect turned cold. As one of the 12 swords of the Dalu sword sect, his status was the same as the 7 heavenly disciples, very famous. However, he was being completely ignored by this person. The man let out a cold short as he disappeared before reappearing in front of Wang Lin and coldly saying, "Wang." Without waiting for him to finish, Wang Lin raised his head and said, "For a cultivator to be so easily angered, your 1,000 years of cultivation is a big disappointment. If it was someone from the All-Seer-S generation, the man would have humbly accepted it, but hearing it from Wang Lin was extremely irritating." He laughed in anger, but his eyes became even colder and he said, "I want to see what you managed to achieve in your 1,000 years of cultivation." Wang Lin shook his head and calmly said, "Move out of the way." The man from the Dalu sword sect laughed as his hand formed a seal and a ray of sword energy condensed before him. It split from 1 into 2, 2 into 4, and continued until there were 64 rays of sword energy, and they all flew toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's expression was calm, and he didn't even look at the 64 rays of sword energy. The sword energy fell on Wang Lin, but at this moment there was a flash of the life seals. The sword energy rays collided with the life seals and all disappeared. "Is that all the power you have? It looks like your 1,000 years of cultivation are not only a disappointment, but also a complete waste." Wang Lin shook his head. The man from the Dalu sword sect's expression changed greatly, and his face was filled with disbelief. Although those 64 rays of sword energy weren't his strongest move, it was not a weak spell. Upon seeing Wang Lin so easily withstand it, his heart shook greatly. "What spell is that?" This person didn't use any treasures, but when my sword energy closed in on his body, it collapsed. Even the dragon sword of the 12 swords can't do this. As Wang Lin shook his head, he continued to walk forward. The man from the Dalu sword sect subconsciously took a few steps back, Then he took a deep breath and placed his hand on the large sword. Wang Lin frowned. Then he coldly looked at the person and said, "Scram! Today you came to deliver the challenge letter, so I want to kill you. You are merely at the peak of the late stage of soul transformation, the same cultivation level as me. Even if your spell is powerful, there is no way for you to withstand this sword." The man from the Dalu sword sect's eyes became serious. He no longer wasted any more words as he moved his right hand, and the treasured sword behind his back flew out. Rumble, rumble, rumble. It was as if a bolt of lightning had flown across the sky as a giant purple sword suddenly appeared above this person. This sword gave off a powerful sword energy, and the moment it appeared, it surrounded the area in a powerful sword intent. There was a mysterious symbol engraved on the sword. The illusion of a giant purple ram appeared from the symbol and released a violent aura. It fused with the sword and caused the sword intent of the sword to become even stronger. "Final ram sword slash!" As the man shouted, the celestial spiritual energy inside his body surged out. He immediately slashed down with his right hand, and at the same time the large sword in the air moved. It crashed down upon Wang Lin with an unimaginable amount of sword energy. Mo Lihai's expression changed, and he immediately began to back up. The people behind him also backed up, and in the blink of an eye they had backed away more than a few thousand feet. The giant sword descended like a bolt of lightning, and thunderous roars accompanied its descent. Wang Lin's expression was still neutral, although this giant sword had power and was especially powerful with the ram soul fused into it. This man before him didn't have the ability to use the full power of the ram soul. "Oh, waste of a good sword." As Wang Lin said that, he lifted his right hand too. The man from the Dalu sword sect's extreme shock, Wang Lin grabbed the sword. At the moment he grabbed the sword, the life seals around his hand flashed like crazy, and more than 1,000 life seals covered his hand. Roars came out from the giant sword, and the ram soul inside the sword struggled like crazy in its attempt to break free from Wang Lin. However, Wang Lin's right hand was like the palm of an ancient god, so no matter how hard it struggled, it wouldn't move Wang Lin's hand a single inch. The evil ram soul in the giant sword let out a monstrous roar. Its eyes were currently filled with an unyielding gaze, and like a primordial beast, it opened its mouth and tried to devour Wang Lin. Although it was just a sword spirit, and therefore an illusion, everyone nearby felt like they could smell the fishy breath of the ram as it tried to devour Wang Lin. "Evil animal, you dare!" Wang Lin's eyes narrowed and a flash of red appeared in them. Then the slaughter intent shot out from his eyes and directly entered the ram soul. The ram soul let out a miserable cry as its body was destroyed by the slaughter intent. The specks of life from the collapsed ram quickly returned to the giant sword, and at this moment, the sword stopped struggling. What Wang Lin did just now was almost exactly the same as when the Alzer was able to make the god-slaying war chariot collapse with just the point of his finger. Mo Lihai couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air when he saw all of this. He couldn't help but reveal a complex expression while looking at Wang Lin. He was able to become so strong in just 3 months even the vice commander-in-chief isn't his match, and he is able to subdue such a powerful sword spirit. If he had a spell this strong 3 months ago, I would have lost without a doubt. The Dalu sword sect's Mo Yang's body trembled and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. This life treasure sword being taken by someone else caused his soul to be damaged. He would have never thought that this Wang Lin would be this strong, or else, no matter what, he wouldn't have come here by himself. He clenched his teeth, then his right hand pointed at his forehead. He took a deep breath and revealed a determined look. His final ace was a strand of sword energy that his master gifted him. There was a total of 12 rays of this sword energy, and each of the 12 swords was given one. This was the ultimate life-saving treasure, so it couldn't be carelessly used, or else the remaining 400+ years in this demon spirit land would be extremely hard. But if he didn't use it now, he might not be able to leave. As Wang Lin looked at Mo Yang, his eyes lit up and he slowly said, "You can leave." 3,000 words in a major chapter, hoping to be shared, hoping to get the like button hit for the video. Chapter 57. Entering the stage. 7. All of the Xuan Dao sect disciples became furious. They all secretly cursed Wang Lin for being too arrogant, but none of them dared to go up. Elder Ouyang and the other two elders were also frowning and looking at Wang Lin with unfriendly gazes. Wang Lin raised his head and let out a laugh. His current demeanor was exactly the same as Zhou Peng's before. He asked, "Xuan Dao sect, are you all too scared to even all come up at once?" All of the Heng Yu sect disciples became very excited and started to cheer loudly. Is the trash of the Xuan Dao sect too scared to come out? Where did all of that arrogance go? Come out. Senior brother Wang Lin is invincible. Punch the Xuan Dao sect. Kick the Xuan Dao sect. Even his spit can drown the Xuan Dao sect. Your senior brother was not good enough. Your second senior brother was also not enough. Do you guys have a third senior brother? All of you, come out together. Liu Feng, come out and die. The Heng Yue sect disciples became even more rowdy, and Huang Long's smile became wider and wider, until one of the Xuan Dao sect disciples who couldn't stand it anymore finally shouted, "Wang Lin, you are too arrogant. It is you who wants all of us to come up. Fellow martial brothers, let's all go and beat him up." That's right. This is his request, so it's not against the rules. Elders, let us all go up. Elder, this Wang Lin is too arrogant. Let us all go up. The Xuan Dao sect's disciples asked to go up one by one. Elder Ouyang clenched his teeth and said, "Since the Heng Yue sect requested it, then whoever wants to go up." The moment he finished speaking, 3 disciples immediately jumped onto the stage. Soon, 7 to 8 more disciples came onto the stage. There were even a few female disciples amongst them. With a shout from someone, all of them took out their magical treasures and attacked Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't mind at all. He activated the attraction technique. He created a few giant hands and swept them at the crowd of people. Suddenly, several people were sent flying. Then, he took a few steps back and the giant hands grabbed the Xuan Dao sect disciples like they were flies and threw them into the distance. Screams came from the crowd. The Xuan Dao sect disciples were thrown from the stage one by one and were unable to get up after they landed. The more Wang Lin fought, the more he got used to it. His control of the attraction technique became even more refined, and, after a while, there were only 3 people remaining. One of them was Liu Feng. Wang Lin let out a laugh and took out the last stink bomb. Liu Feng's expression suddenly changed. He didn't care about the other 2 anymore. He shouted, "Brother Wang, have mercy! I surrender, I surrender!" As he was speaking, he quickly backed up and stepped off the stage. He had already seen what happened to Zhou Peng and Yang Yi, so he didn't want the same thing to happen to him. The last 2 people were Shu Mu and Li Shan. Shu Mu saw that things weren't going well. He quickly surrendered and awkwardly got off the stage. Li Shan's face was filled with grief. He loudly shouted at Wang Lin, "Wang Lin, come. Use your last stink bomb on me." With his strength, he would normally not be the last person left, but when he got on the stage, he immediately played dead. Although he was stepped on a few times, it was worth it for the sake of his future in the sect. Li Shan planned this well. If he was also hit by the stink bomb, like senior brother and second senior brother, then he might get their pity and his beating might not be as bad. Wang Lin faintly smiled at him. He put away the stink bomb and said, "This is a treasure, so it shouldn't be carelessly used. You can get off the stage." With his attraction technique, he grabbed Li Shan like a small baby chick and threw him off the stage. Elder Ouyang and the 2 other elders were furious. They wished there was a crack in the ground for them to burrow in right now. Huang Long's face was bursting with joy as he said, "Friend Ouyang, who is the winner between the exchange of our 2 sects?" Elder Ouyang snorted and said, "Your Heng Yue sect has good fortune to have such a good disciple. This exchange is your win. But what I said before is true. All of your Heng Yu sect nascent soul ancestors are dead. All of the things you want are in this bag of holding. Goodbye." With that, he waved his sleeve and a bag of holding flew out. Huang Long caught the bag of holding with a thoughtful expression. Elder Ouyang let out a shout, and soon, a black cloud arrived at his location. Wang Lin looked closer and found that it was the 1,000-foot centipede. Without a word, Elder Ouyang took 1 step and jumped onto the centipede. All of the Xuan Dao sect disciples flew onto the centipede with looks of shame, anger, and many other expressions. Seeing the other about to leave, Wang Lin's eyes lit up, and he made a decision. He shouted, "Fellow peers of the Xuan Dao sect and elders, I have an unreasonable demand." With that, his body flew forward with the attraction technique and stopped before the centipede. Elder Ouyang's expression remained unwavering. If it was any other disciple of the Hengyu sect, he wouldn't bother, but this Wang Lin's power was too amazing. So he suppressed the discontent in his heart and said, "Speak." Wang Lin looked at the 1,000-foot centipede and honestly said, "I would like to borrow some poison from the centipede. I hope Elder Ouyang will agree." Before Elder Ouyang could speak, all of the Xuandao sect disciples became furious. One of them shouted, "Wang Lin, don't push us too far." Wang Lin, this centipede is one of the guardian spirit beasts of our Xuandao sect. How could its poison be just lent to you because you ask? You too arrogant. Elder, this person is too disrespectful to our Xuandao sect. I request the elder to teach him a lesson. The other two elders both couldn't stop sneering. Elder Ouyang stared at Wang Lin with an eerie smile. "Junior Scram, I can be bothered with you?" Huang Long and the other elders of the Hengyu sect all stepped onto their flying swords and flew up next to Wang Lin. Wang Long said, in a clear voice, "Friend Ouyang, your Xuandao sect is too stingy. It's only the centipede's poison. It's not like he is asking for its life." Elder Ouyang's expression darkened. He looked around and his gaze fell back on Huang Long. He said, "Friend Huang Long, taking a bit of the poison is not a big deal, but for a junior to dare to be so arrogant is too disrespectful toward our Xuandao sect." Huang Long hesitated for a moment. He really didn't want to embarrass the Xuandao sect too much, because the news they brought was just too shocking. If the news were true, then the balance of power in the cultivation country of Zhao was going to be shuffled. Wang Lin hesitated for a while. He was definitely going to get the poison from this centipede. He said to Elder Ouyang, "Elder Ouyang, I only want a bit of the centipede's poison. I promise I won't hurt him. If you agree, I am willing to exchange something for it." Tonight there will be 2 to 3 new chapters. Leo will do his utmost to make up for the chapters missing from the last 2 days. You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter 580, Ling Tianhu's Sword Energy, Part 2. Mo Yang was startled. "I don't have any grudge against the Dalu sword sect. If it wasn't for you repeatedly forcing me, I wouldn't have attacked. Send out a message to the 12 swords. I don't want to make you guys my enemies in the demon spirit land." As Wang Lin spoke, he threw the sword in his hand at Mo Yang. He then walked past Mo Yang and continued toward his room. His figure leaving caused Mo Yang to be completely startled. Just now he was forced into a situation where he was about to use his life-saving treasure. But what Wang Lin said just now made him feel disbelief. He took a deep breath, picked up the giant sword, and after checking it with his divine sense to make sure nothing was wrong, he looked at Wang Lin, who was walking away, with bewilderment. "I'll definitely relay your message." Mo Yang moved and quickly flew away from the Mo mansion. His speed slowed down 10,000 feet from the Mo mansion, but his divine sense was still on guard. After a while, when he saw that Wang Lin still hadn't attacked him, it seemed like Wang Lin was really going to let him go. "Wang Lin, I'll definitely pay you back 100% fold for the disgrace I suffered today. Although your spell is powerful, next time I'll be back with several of my senior apprentice brothers to attack at once. I want to see if you can still be so calm. Ichimba, if it wasn't for Senior Gree going to the fire demon country, he would have only needed one move to kill you." Mo Yang's eyes revealed a hint of killing intent, then he coldly looked at the Mo mansion before quickly leaving. He flew extremely fast. The farther he was away from the Mo mansion, the more relaxed he became. He recalled the battle earlier and couldn't help but feel fear. This Wang Lin is extremely strong. However, if I use the sword energy Master gave me, he won't be able to resist. Mo Yang revealed a cold smile. However, just at this moment, strands of gray gas silently came out from the big sword on his back. They were like snakes and were aimed directly at Mo Yang's head. A powerful sense of crisis enveloped his body, but the strands of gray gas drilled into his skull at lightning speed before he could do anything. The gray gas's speed was too quick and it was too close. At almost the moment Mo Yan noticed the danger, he let out a miserable scream. His body began to fall from the sky. and his body began to wither. His body quickly withered, and his miserable screams echoed in the sky. His origin soul wasn't able to escape at all. The moment the gray gas entered his body, it formed a seal that cut off his origin soul from his body. At the same time, the gray gas quickly absorbed his flesh, blood, and celestial spiritual energy, making its seal even stronger. At the moment he landed, Mo Yang's eyes opened, and he turned into a mummy. The last thought in his mind was about the giant sword. He had already checked it. How could there have been gray gas hidden within it? The space distorted before his body, and Wang Lin walked out. He pointed at several points on Mo Yang's body before grabbing the body, taking a step, and disappearing. Wang Lin appeared from the void in his residence in the Mo mansion. He released his right hand, and Mo Yang's body landed on the ground. Wang Lin's eyes were serious as he slapped his bag of holding. Then the restriction flag flew out, turned into black mist, and surrounded the room. Countless restrictions flashed within the black mist. After doing all of this, he took a deep breath and sat down in the lotus position. He cultivated for a bit before suddenly opening his eyes, and his gaze fell on Mo Yang's body. After carefully examining the body, his gaze fell on Mo Yang's brow. He revealed an uncertain expression. It was impossible to tell what he was thinking. After pondering for a bit, his hand formed a seal, and he began to chant. Soon, a ghostly fire appeared in his hand. His hand continued to change, creating many afterimages. Then he pointed at the body and softly said, "Refine." The ghostly flame floated toward Mo Yang's body and immediately spread out to surround the corpse. There was a series of cracking and popping sounds as Mo Yang's body melted at a visible rate. His body was already a mummy because his essence had already been sucked dry by the gray gas. Now that it was burning, a strange smell filled the room. However, Wang Lin had no time to pay attention to that as he stared intently at the body. During the battle earlier, when Mo Yang touched his brow, it made Wang Lin feel like a strong crisis was coming. He almost never felt this kind of crisis after he had successfully mastered the slaughter energy. Even a mid-stage ascendant cultivator couldn't produce such an aura without even appearing. That thing had pierced through more than 3,000 layers of life seals and directly caused his origin soul to shake. This gave Wang Lin the feeling that he was in a life and death situation. He was extremely shocked, and that was why he decided to retreat for the moment, to ease the tension. He was also sure that unless he forced this man into a corner, Mo Yang definitely wouldn't have used it. Mo Yang's body gradually melted, revealing his origin soul. His origin soul was surrounded by layers of gray gas that would occasionally give off a demonic glow. Mo Yang's origin soul's eyes were tightly shut, and it remained motionless inside the ghostly flame. Wang Lin's eyes were like lightning as they began to carefully examine the origin soul. His eyes suddenly narrowed on Mo Yang's forehead. On it, there was a very faint blue line that seemed to be flashing. If one looked at it closely, this thin line was clearly a sword that had been shrunken down countless times. At the moment he saw the blue line, Wang Lin's body trembled, and the feeling of directly confronting sword sign Ling Tianhu filled his body. Ling Tianhu. Wang Lin took a deep breath and his eyes became very serious. Back then, outside the gate, Ling Tianhu gave out rays of sword energy and called them the life-saving treasures for the 12 of them. This blue line is that sword energy. No wonder it can make me feel like I am in a life and death situation and directly pierce through my life seals. Wang Lin's eyes lit up and revealed a decisive expression. Since I saw this ray of sword energy, it will be mine. He closed his eyes and placed his arm on his knees. A ray of light appeared above his head as his origin soul left his body. Then life seals surrounded his origin soul like layers of armor. Wang Lin's origin soul left his body and looked at Mo Yang's origin soul. He pondered a bit before spitting out some origin flame that fused into the ghostly flame. The ghostly flame suddenly began to burn even stronger. Wang Lin continued to spit out origin flames. Mo Yang's origin soul revealed a painful expression. He wanted to struggle, but the life seal around his origin soul had him on complete lockdown. Wang Lin's origin soul revealed a careful expression as he controlled the ghostly flame to avoid the sword energy while slowly eating away at Mo Yang's origin soul. Mo Yang's origin soul was slowly being refined. This process lasted several days. Even with Wang Lin's mental strength, having to concentrate for so long caused his origin soul to dim and his face to show a tired expression. but his eyes became brighter and brighter. On this day, Mo Yang's origin soul finally collapsed into countless specks of blue light after being refined for so long. The blue, thin line calmly floated among the blue specks. Wang Lin's origin soul sucked, and the shattered pieces of Mo Yang's origin soul were devoured by Wang Lin to recover all the energy he had used. After all that was done, Wang Lin looked at the motionless blue line with hesitation in his eyes. After pondering for a long time, Wang Lin clenched his teeth. He no longer hesitated and devoured the thin line. At this moment, his origin soul trembled violently and began to lose connection to his body. Wang Lin was already prepared for this, which was why his body wasn't too far away. He struggled to move, and right before the connection disappeared, he entered his body. Wang Lin quietly sat there for 3 days. On the evening of the third day, Wang Lin opened his eyes. Although his gaze was calm, there was also a hint of a dazzling light in his eyes. Good night, everyone. We will meet again tomorrow. Just wait a moment. Remember to like the video. Chapter 581, Demon General Competition. When Wang Lin opened his eyes, a sword-shaped shadow flashed across his vision. Mo Lihai was sitting outside of Wang Lin's room. He had been sitting there for 3 days. His face was extremely pale without a trace of blood. During these 3 days, he wanted to enter Wang Lin's room many times, but every time he saw the black mist and the countless restrictions inside, he couldn't help but stop. With the date of the Demon General Competition slowly approaching, he became even more anxious. But he knew that Wang Lin had placed restrictions because he was at a critical moment in his cultivation and didn't want others to disturb him. While weighing the pros and cons, Mo Lihai sat outside the room and silently waited. Tomorrow was the day of the Demon General Competition, and it was going to be a grim struggle. Mo Lihai's anxiety had reached its peak. If Wang Lin still won come out today, then he will completely lose his qualification to compete tomorrow. He hesitated for a bit before clenching his teeth, standing up and stepping toward Wang Lin's room. Mo Lihai sent out his voice. "Brother Wang." Just at this moment, the black mist surrounding the room began to move as if there was a hole somewhere. A vortex formed, and all of the black mist was dragged toward that hole. In almost an instant, the black mist disappeared without a trace. Mo Lihai revealed a joyous expression as he stopped outside the room and stared at the inside. The door was pushed open and Wang Lin slowly walked out. At the moment he appeared, Mo Lihai involuntarily took a few steps back, and his eyes were filled with shock. Right now, the current Wang Lin was once more different from before. At the moment he saw Wang Lin, he had the feeling that he was standing below a mountain that reached the heavens. Although Wang Lin wasn't tall, he currently had the air of a grandmaster, and this feeling filled Mo Lihai's mind. Re-injured Wang Lin closed his eyes, and all the aura he released quickly withdrew back inside his body without any of it leaking. Right now there were no fluctuations around his body. It was as if he was immortal. Mo Lihai's feelings changed once more. If Wang Lin was like an immeasurably tall mountain before, now he was like a very deep pool. Although it didn't look very deep, if he were to enter, he would die without a proper burial. Mo Lihai took a deep breath and said, "I lost the battle against Mo Fei." Wang Lin nodded and walked out of the room. He looked up at the sky, and after pondering a bit he asked, "How long was I in closed-door cultivation for?" "Tomorrow is the Demon General Competition," Mo Lihai said. After pondering a bit he added, "Mo Fei is very strong. He was able to withstand my 10 collapse fist intent, and my 100-wave demon sea was reflected back at me with a rotating disc spell. It was that spell that made me lose." Wang Lin looked at Mo Lihai. Rotating disc spell? Mo Lihai recalled the battle from few days ago and said, "Mo Fei is considered #1 among the demon generals, and his spells are very mysterious. After he became a demon general and cultivated for 3 years at the Dragon Lake, no one has been able to force him to use a second spell besides the rotating disc. This rotating disc spell has the power to reflect all spells. It is very powerful." Wang Lin's expression was neutral as he said, "Aside from the 10 collapse fist intent and 100-wave demon sea, I don't believe that Bother Mo doesn't have an ace." Mo Lihai looked at Wang Lin and honestly said, "I did use it. It's the spell the Demon Emperor personally taught me called Burning Demon. I used it and was able to break through 17 layers of the 18 layers of the rotating disc before ultimately being defeated. Brother Wang, I had an agreement with Mo Fei. The loser will give up on the Demon General competition. Whether I can get the position of Vice Commander-in-Chief will all depend on Brother Wang. Mo Lihai's heart felt bitter as he took 2 steps back and bowed deeply toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin calmly said, "I'll do my best." Mo Lihai took a deep breath and clasped his hands. "Many thanks, Brother Wang. I won't disturb you any longer. Tomorrow we will go to the Imperial Palace together." With that, he clasped his hands once more and left. His figure contained a hint of bleakness. Wang Lin silently stood inside the courtyard and closed his eyes. He stood there for the entire night. Early in the morning, the sun rose and banished the darkness over Sky Demon City. As the sun shined on the Imperial Palace, powerful battle intent appeared in all 8 cities. Inside the Imperial City in the 10,000-foot square, there was a giant war drum. This drum was completely black, and it gave off an ancient aura that surrounded the area. Teams of black armored demon soldiers stepped out and surrounded the square. Then one person suddenly charged out as fast as lightning. His pale hair flowed in the air like a god of war, and his fist landed on the war drum. Dah! A muffled sound echoed from the Imperial City and spread across the entire Sky Demon City. The people of Sky Demon City all knew that there was a Sky Demon drum in the Imperial City. It was only used when worshipping the ancestor, opening the Dragon Lake, and other important events. 9 times for the Dragon Lake, 6 for ancestors, and 3 for everything else. The sound of the drum echoed between heaven and earth, and the entire Sky Demon City trembled. Countless people were awakened by the sound of this drum. One by one, the demon generals led their attendants and helpers on the military road toward the Imperial City. All 8 gates of the Imperial City opened up. Many demon soldiers were positioned at the gates to check the identities of the demon generals before letting them in. Today's battle was going to be at the 10,000-foot square near the Sky Demon Gate. There was a powerful formation protecting it, so it wouldn't be easily destroyed. On the eastern part of the square was a 9-story seating section that was more than 1,000 feet wide. Countless officials of Sky Demon City appeared and sat down in their seats. There was only one seat at the top, and that was for the Demon Emperor. In the south and north ends of the square, there were 8-story seating sections more than 800 feet wide. The top 2 floors of each only had 4 seats per floor. Of those 16 seats, the top 8 were for the commander-in-chiefs, and the bottom 4 were for the vice commander-in-chiefs. At this moment, the entire square was extremely lively. People continued to be seated before the Demon Emperor arrived, and more people were showing up. Among those people, some were yawning. It was clear that they would normally still be in bed at this time. It didn't take long before all the seats were filled, except for the Emperor's, Commander-in-Chiefs, and Vice Commander-in-Chiefs. Sounds of whispering and talk began. This time Demon General Mo Fei will definitely be ranked number 1. There will be no suspense. Not so. Demon General Xianxia has heavenly cultivation. He also found an amazing helper, so Demon General Xianxia has the ability to fight for number 1. You can underestimate Demon General Mo Lihai. That person's cultivation is shocking, and he has powerful spells. Let's not forget the spell personally taught to him by the Demon Emperor. He has the qualification to enter the top 3. Mo Lihai, you guys may not know, but he had a battle with Mo Fei and lost. The 2 sides agreed that the loser can enter the competition today. Oh, is that true? If that is true, then it is a pity for Mo Lihai. Not necessarily so. Although Mo Lihai can compete, that doesn't mean his helper can. However, his helper isn't well known, so I'm afraid there is no chance for him to win. Could it be beside those 3, there isn't anyone else who is powerful among the demon generals? Rumor has it that Demon General Yusen's Tao of Slaughter has already reached its peak. He is the only person among the demon generals not holding a city and spending most of his time in the Fire Demon country. If he appears, he will definitely cause a storm. That is definitely so. There is also Demon General Mo Wen. His spell is very special, and he inherited it from the Dragon Lake. That person is usually very low-key, so no one knows his full strength. Today I hope to see just what his spells are like. Everyone, don't forget the ranked 4 demon general from 300 years ago, the immortal demon Ji Lian. Xilan, the only female among the demon generals. Rumor has it that this person entered the competition 300 years ago with injuries and still won 4th. If she wasn't hurt, then Mo Fei might not have gotten first place. Waves of debate echoed across the square. Everyone was guessing who would win the Demon General competition this time. After the old man hit the drum for the first time, he closed his eyes and just quietly stood there. At this moment, he opened his eyes, and he moved so fast that he created an afterimage before he hit the drum. Daw! The second sound from the drum echoed across the square, causing all of the talking to stop. The sound of the drum spread across the entire Sky Demon City. This sound echoed across the sky like roaring thunder, and completely drove away the last bit of darkness in the air and ushered in the bright sunlight. As the drum echoed across the sky and the thunderous roar spread, 8 rays of light charged toward the square. They didn't use the gate but flew directly here. Only Commander-in-Chiefs had this qualification: Heaven, Xuan, Yellow, Universe, Eternity, and Desolate. The 6 Vice Commander-in-Chiefs landed from the sky and took their seats on the second highest floors on the north and south seating sections. The Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief's face was extremely pale. The moment he sat down, he closed his eyes to cultivate and ignored everything around him. After the 6 of them landed, a thunderous roar even louder than the Sky Demon drum echoed across the entire Sky Demon City. The 8 Commander-in-Chiefs walked toward the square in the sky. Among the 8 there were 7 males and 1 female. The 8 of them clasped their hands at each other before going to their respective seats without saying a word. The appearance of the 8 caught the attention of everyone here, and everyone's eyes were filled with admiration. The respect they had for these 8 people was just below what they had for the Demon Emperor. Even in the entire Demon Spirit Land, their names were extremely famous and almost everyone knew them. Dong! The third sound from the drum echoed across the area like a thunderous roar several times fiercer than before. It spread out for thousands of kilometers and everyone's ears were filled with this thunderous roar. Their gazes all looked toward one place, and that place was the empty seat at the very top of the seating area on the east side of the square. 4,000 words in a major chapter. Read an extra 1,000 words, wishing for the like button on the video to help. Chapter 582. Wang Lin steps out. After the third sound from the drum, everyone's minds were filled with its echo. The seat was still vacant, and the distinguished figure everyone was waiting for still hadn't appeared. Just at this moment, a man wearing gold armor walked out from the palace behind the square. He swept the area before finally placing his gaze on the square and shouting, "Demon Generals, come out!" His voice was like raging thunder as it echoed across the square. All of the gates opened and the various Demon Generals walked in. These Demon Generals all had cultivators following them. At this moment, everyone's gazes moved away from the empty seat and toward the Demon Generals. The Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief opened his eyes and looked at one person among the Demon Generals with indignation and let out a soft snort. The person he paid attention to was Wang Lin. Wang Lin, while walking behind Mo Lihai, raised his head to look at the Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief before withdrawing his gaze. Mo Lihai frowned as he looked at the empty seat in the distance and muttered to himself, "Strange, why isn't he the Demon Emperor here yet?" As hundreds of Demon Generals walked through the Sky Demon Gate in 2 rows, powerful battle intent spread out from them and filled the area. The golden-armored man said, in a low voice following the Emperor's order, "The rule is the same as usual. It will be conducted by people challenging others." The golden-armored man then slowly said, "Those who are defeated can get their helper to come out, and at the same time, those who won can also retreat and let their helper take their place. Win both rounds and you move on. If it is a win and lose, both sides are disqualified. Also, anyone who wins once in this round can challenge someone else." His voice wasn't loud, but it entered everyone's ears. Upon hearing this rule, Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. Although this rule seemed normal, there was a bloodbath hidden within. This bloodbath was in the fact that if you get 1 win and 1 loss, both sides are disqualified. As a result, everyone will do their best to win in this competition. Once you lose the first round, that means the person who lost has already been disqualified. The only thing they can do is get revenge by making the winner lose the second round so both are disqualified. This is not a competition but a fight to the death, Wang Lin pondered. The golden-armored man spoke once more. There can be death in the competition, but it can be the Demon Generals. Once a Demon General has died, then the person who killed the Demon General will be killed. Wang Lin frowned and coldly looked at the golden-armored man. using the competition between demon generals and the slaughter between cultivators to gain a position. If one wants to obtain a position in the demon spirit land, they must be able to walk through the rain of blood. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze and silently pondered. "I will pick who starts." The man in golden armor pointed at someone with his right hand. The person he pointed at was a thin man. "Demon General Mu Yun, come out." The person pointed at by the golden-armored man stepped out and walked onto the square. He was wearing armor and was very thin. His eyes were sunken in and his face had a sickly yellow color to it. He stood there motionless like an ancient pine tree. "Mu Yun." This person can be considered top 30 among the demon generals. Rumor has it that he cultivates the 9 deaths 9 lives cultivation method, and that 300 years ago he had already reached 5 deaths and 5 lives. The first person is so strong. The demon general competition this time is interesting. I wonder who will challenge him. It has to be said that the victor of the first match will attract the attention of the demon emperor. Although the demon emperor isn't here, the report will definitely be sent to him. If no one challenges him in 10 breaths of time, I'll appoint someone. After the golden-armored man spoke, he closed his eyes and no longer said anything. The thin demon general quietly stood there and time slowly passed by. After the 5th breath, a person among the demon generals came out. At the moment Xianxia walked out, Demon General Mu Yun's eyes lit up. At the moment he appeared, many people in the crowd exclaimed, "Xiao!" Demon General Xianxia. His cultivation can be considered top 3. I wonder if it's considered bullying for him to come out. I originally thought that Xiao's opponent should be Mo Lihai. 300 years ago, Mo Lihai left the first scar on Xiao's face. That was the biggest insult Xiao has suffered. Xiao's appearance can only be considered demonic. He walked up to the square and stopped 300 feet before Mu Yun. Then he calmly said, "Mu Yun, you are not my opponent. Stand down." Demon General Mu Yun revealed a smile. This smile combined with his looks looked like the smile of a corpse and gave off a very dark aura. "Xiao." Mu Yun's right hand reached out and green gas came out from his fingers. There were sizzling sounds as 5 strands of green gas moved around his fingers like 5 snakes. 5 strands of life and death demonic energy. It looks like you have broken through the realm of 7 deaths and 7 lives. Xiao looked at Mu Yun, then he shook his head and said, "But it is still not enough." Mu Yun sneered as his right hand reached out. The 5 green snakes twisted and suddenly extended like crazy towards Xiao. As the 5 strands of green gas flew through the air, they created powerful gusts of wind. At the same time, a foul smell filled the air. Many of the surrounding demon generals narrowed their eyes as they stared at the 5 strands of green gas, and their eyes were filled with shock. Xiao shook his head, but his body didn't move. He moved his right hand as he pointed with his index finger, then the middle finger, then the ring finger, and finally he pressed his palm forward. A diamond-shaped light suddenly flew out from Xiao's palm and collided with Mu Yun's 5 strands of green gas. There was a series of explosions and a powerful force blew sand everywhere. The 5 strands of green gas were immediately destroyed by the diamond-shaped light. At the same time, the diamond-shaped light shot out at an inconceivable speed. It stopped just before Mu Yun's body and exploded. The force created by the explosion caused Mu Yun's face to immediately turn pale. He was forced back several steps, and his eyes were filled with surprise. Xiao withdrew his right hand and calmly said, "I said you aren't enough. Your can come out." Just as he finished speaking, the ground began to tremble and a person walked out from the crowd of demon generals. This person's body was huge, and he weighed at least hundreds of kilograms. His upper body was naked, and every step he took caused the ground to shake. He arrived before Xiao in 3 steps and grinned. "Little doll, the giant spirit sect's esteemed Tian Louis, am Demon General Mu Yun's helper." Wang Lin took a look at the fat man. The giant spirit sect was a big sect on planet Tianyun. It was similar to the giant demon sect that focused on raw power. The giant man let out a roar and took a step forward. Then celestial spiritual energy came out from the pores in his body and turned into a mist. At this moment, he was hiding inside the mist as he slammed towards Xiao. The ground trembled as if there were tens of thousands of war horses galloping. The figure in the celestial mist moved quickly, and waves of chanting could be heard. Then a mysterious force suddenly surrounded the surrounding feet area to create an imprisonment. There was also a fat person among the demon generals. He was wearing green and had a giant sword behind his back. He looked at the person as he muttered to himself, "This person's current appearance is very similar to my sword spirit." Xianxia let out a cold snort. He didn't even move, as if he was rooted to the ground. He stretched out his right hand and quickly pointed at the void. Then his hand formed a cone, and he stabbed forth. At the moment he pointed at the void, strands of demonic spiritual energy flew out from his body and fused with the cone he had formed with his fingers. At the moment the fat man arrived, Xiao's right hand stabbed forward. The cone created by his fingers broke through the celestial mist created by the fat man like an angry dragon, and landed directly between the fat man's eyebrows. Xiao was too fast. The fat man let out a roar as the powerful impact from his body dissipated under the power of the cone. Then his expression changed, and he immediately backed up. Bang, bang, bang! As he backed up, the ground beneath him shattered. Then the fat man backed up 3 steps and crossed dozens of feet. With every step, blood and flesh would explode from his body. After taking 3 steps back, his entire body exploded into pieces of flesh that scattered all over the square. 5 thin threads came out from the pieces of flesh and fused with Xiao's body. There is no life and death battle between demon generals, but you foreigners are just here to be killed. Xiao withdrew his hand. He didn't even look at the flesh on the ground. Instead, his eyes became cold as he looked at Molihai. "Molihai, do you dare to battle with me?" After he said that, a burst of discussion came from the people watching. The simulation from the bloody scene had awakened everyone's spirits. Molihai looked at Xiao and calmly said, "I lost to Mo Fei, so I want to be joining the demon general competition." Xiao's eyes were filled with killing intent as he stared at Molihai for a long time. Finally, his eyes moved away from Molihai and to Wang Lin, and he grinned. "You, come here and play with me." Wang Lin didn't even look at Xiao and calmly said, "I am not interested in a battle where I can kill." Xiao let out a cold snort. The golden-armored man coldly looked at Wang Lin before shouting, "Demon General Xiao, you have won this battle! According to the rules, you can challenge anyone else this round." Xiao looked at Wang Lin and walked toward him. When he passed by Wang Lin, he whispered, "Since Molihai doesn't dare to fight, I'll kill you to vent my anger for back then." Wang Lin didn't even look at him, and his expression remained calm. The golden-armored man pointed at Wang Lin and said, "You come out!" Wang Lin's expression was calm as he walked out and stood on the square. "If no one challenges within 10 breaths of time, I'll appoint someone." After the golden-armored man finished speaking, he closed his eyes. Brothers, have you not yet hit the like button for the video? Wish that the like button for the video would be hit. Chapter 583, Shu Liguo, Part 1. A gentle breath flew past the square and blew away the dust, causing clothes to flap in the wind. Wang Lin's white robe flowed due to the wind, making him even more elegant. Standing on the square, Wang Lin looked up at the sky with a completely calm expression. It was as if everything before him didn't really matter, and he was just a passerby. Soft sounds of discussion came from the people watching as Wang Lin stepped onto the square. Molihai isn't coming out, and although he is Molihai's helper, it will be very difficult for him to achieve victory in the end. This person is very arrogant, but he didn't dare to accept Demon General Xiao's challenge. Ridiculous. As an outsider to our demon spirit land, it is best not to be too arrogant, or else the only path for you is death. It looks like this person still doesn't understand his place. As people debated, the Xuan vice commander-in-chief on the northern seating area let out a soft snort. There was one person sitting behind him. This person was middle-aged and was wearing blue armor. His appearance was very plain, but he gave off a sense of majesty. After this person heard the Xuan vice commander-in-chief snort, he turned his head and asked, "Xuan vice commander-in-chief, you know this person?" Xuan vice commander-in-chief was gloomy as he shook his head and said, "I don't know him." After pausing for a bit, he continued, "But this person can definitely place top 3. Maybe even number 1 would not be difficult." The middle-aged man was startled before turning his head to carefully look at Wang Lin and saying, "This person's cultivation level is only at the cultivator's peak of the late stage of soul transformation. I'm afraid it won't be that easy for him to place first. Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief coldly snorted and said, Yellow Vice Commander-in-Chief, how about we make a bet? If that person doesn't place first, then I'll give you my Vice Heavenly Omen flag. But if that person gets first place, you will give me your Xuan pill. The middle-aged man chuckled and said, Okay, I want to see what is so special about this person to make Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief so confident. The Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief sneered and thought to himself, if you had been seriously injured by him, you would be this confident too. Just at this moment, a person quickly walked out from among the demon generals. He was wearing an earth-colored suit of armor, and although he looked motionless, he quickly appeared within 1,000 feet of Wang Lin. I hope fellow colleague will be courteous and not fight with me for the position of challenger. This person's laughter filled the air. He was very proud, and his laughter revealed his confidence. Demon General Audi. I should have guessed he would appear in this battle. This person is only considered to be in the middle of the pack among demon generals, but he is extremely good at taking advantage of a good situation. Although he is a bit shameless at times, this opportunity is perfect. As long as he wins against this cultivator, that means he has beaten Mo Lihai. Also, since Mo Lihai can't fight, he only needs to win one battle to get past the first round. No wonder he's asking to be courteous. Demon General Audi clasped his hands at everyone. Then he looked at Wang Lin and smiled. It is best you concede now if you wish to live. Otherwise, even if we are evenly matched, I still have a helper. After he said those words, many of those demon generals revealed expressions of watching a good show. However, a few of the demon generals had different expressions, and Mo Fei was one of them. Mo Fei quietly stood there as he coldly looked at Wang Lin with a calm expression. Wang Lin withdrew his gaze from looking at the sky. He glanced at Audi before shaking his head and saying, You aren't a match for me. Audi was startled before letting out a mad laugh. Then he leaped forward and laughed some more. Arrogant person, let me see if you are qualified to be arrogant. After he spoke, he took a step and immediately disappeared without a trace. At the moment he disappeared, Wang Lin's expression didn't change at all, and he wasn't the least bit surprised. He raised his right foot and took a step forward. The ground shook violently. Waves of fluctuation spread out with Wang Lin's feet as the center, and a crazy amount of celestial spiritual energy spread out following the shockwaves. At this moment, it was as if the earth Wang Lin had stepped on was the magma from hell. With that step, the earth shattered and countless columns of magma shot into the sky. Each pillar of magma was like a red sword piercing the sky. Audi was forced out from the ground 50 feet away from Wang Lin, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. This earth escape technique was used in cooperation with his life-linked demonic beast, so even if his enemy had used a spell to collapse the ground, it shouldn't have been this easy to force him out. In fact, he should have been able to change his strategy and attack from the side when Wang Lin used that spell. Also, the most important part was that this 10,000-foot square was filled with countless restrictions, so if one wanted to make the ground collapse, it was at least 10 times harder in here than it was outside. He was even moving around carefully while using the earth escape technique. When Shi Xiao was battling, he was carefully studying the best route to use. But at this moment, he didn't have much time to think. As he floated in the air, Wang Lin's gaze was like a sharp sword aimed directly at him. When he saw that gaze, his scalp suddenly went numb and a bad feeling appeared in his heart. He didn't hesitate to quickly back up, and his right hand quickly reached for his forehead. However, at this moment, Wang Lin took one step and immediately appeared before him. His hand was covered by a gray symbol as he grabbed Aodi's right hand. Audi's expression changed greatly. Wang Lin's hand was like a pair of hot iron tongs. He tried to break free but was shocked when he found he couldn't. After letting out a low roar, he bit the tip of his tongue and shot a blood sword at Wang Lin. The moment this blood sword appeared, it released waves of demonic spiritual energy and turned into a dragon turtle. The dragon turtle let out a roar and tried to devour Wang Lin. Wang Lin's eyes were still calm. Before the blood sword even closed in on him, it was met with countless layers of life seals. After it passed through 800+ layers, the blood sword lost all its power. At the same time, Wang Lin injected celestial spiritual energy into Aodi's right hand. The celestial spiritual energy surged through Aodi's body and quickly destroyed all of the meridians in its path. Stop! Just at this moment, the man in golden armor responsible for the demon general competition opened his eyes and revealed a cold gaze. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Not only did he not stop, but he sent out even more celestial spiritual energy to destroy the already destroyed meridians once more. Then he let go and Aod's body was thrown far away due to inertia. As Aod flew through the air, there were sounds of explosions coming out from his body, and a large amount of blood mist burst out of his body. Pain, massive pain. This was the only feeling he felt. The demonic spiritual energy in his body resisted the celestial spiritual energy like crazy. The process of the two energies fighting it out made it feel like he was going through hell. The Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief sucked in a breath of cold air. This scene reminded him of when he fought Wang Lin. Seeing Aod was like seeing himself from back then. "You dare!" The golden-armored man reached into the sky, and a golden light from the sun quickly gathered in his hand. The sunlight quickly condensed into a golden spear, and at this moment, it was as if he was holding the sun in his hand. Then he threw it at Wang Lin. Wang Lin didn't even look at the golden lance as he took a step and disappeared. He grabbed Aod, who was in the air once more, and shook him violently. Aod felt like he was hit by a powerful force when a surge of energy entered his body through his right hand and caused a series of crackling sounds. All of his bones separated from his flesh before they shattered into pieces. The pain coming from all over his body now was several times more intense than when his meridians were destroyed. Wang Lin let go of his hand and Aod fell to the ground, kicking up some dust on impact. Aod no longer had a future, but he didn't die. After doing all of this, Wang Lin suddenly turned around and his hand formed a seal. Life seals began to gather at his right hand, and at this moment, the golden lance closed in. The power of this lance was extremely shocking. It seemed as if it would pierce the heavens. At the moment it was sent flying, Wang Lin felt that it had locked onto him. When it closed in, Wang Lin's eyes lit up like they did when he was deducing a restriction. He revealed a determined look as his palm hit the lance. This palm caused the lance to buzz. Then he hit it once more with his other palm. Both palm hits were in different positions, and then he moved his body, causing the lance to pass by him. Wang Lin withdrew his right hand as he coldly looked at the man in golden armor and said, "What is the meaning of this, my lord? Do you intend to break the rules?" Although Wang Lin's expression was calm, he was extremely vigilant. That golden lance was very powerful. The golden-armored man gave Wang Lin a meaningful look before squeezing his right hand. The golden lance that passed by Wang Lin trembled as it shattered into specks of sunlight and disappeared. At this moment, the surroundings were extremely silent, and everyone was completely dumbfounded looking at this incredible scene. The people here couldn't believe that a demon general was just beaten like this by an outsider. Although he didn't die, all of his meridians and bones were shattered. A person like this was a waste. There was no way the demon emperor would be willing to give him the very precious sky demon pill, because even for a commander-in-chief, they would need countless exploits to get one. How could Aod, a mere demon general, get this pill? If this Aod had lost after a fierce battle, these people would be able to accept it, but this battle was decided in an instant. This moment shattered their pride as people of the demon spirit land. It has to be said that aside from very few occasions, a demon general had never been beaten into this state. As for one being beaten like this by a foreigner, this was the first time. Many surprised gazes that were also filled with killing intent gathered on Wang Lin. Sounds of heavy breathing came from the demon generals on the side of the square. Their gazes toward Wang Lin had completely changed. Thank you all for the support, especially for the large golden gifts from Leo. Leo is so touched he could cry. By the end of this month, Leo's video is facing a challenge in the popular rankings. Hoping to get more likes for the video. Chapter 584, Shu Liguo, Part 2. This person is very strong. A person among the demon generals who gave off a dark aura stared at Wang Lin, and his eyes were filled with battle intent. He was the demon general that cultivated the path of slaughter, Yusen. Interesting. I didn't expect Molehai to have this incredible of a backup. I don't know how many he could withstand if I were to use the 7 demon spell among the demon generals. There was a black-haired man. He touched the ring on his finger and revealed a faint smile. Rules. The Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief clenched the armrest and his heart was in turmoil. The 8 Commander-in-Chiefs all focused their attention on Wang Lin. One of them was wearing a green shirt. He looked very graceful, and he looked at Wang Lin with a hint of admiration. He acts very cleanly and efficiently without wasting any time. This child is pretty good. Chen Tao was standing beside Xiao and was staring at Wang Lin. This junior apprentice brother of his was very different from before. He was much more powerful. It could be said that he was powerful to the point of being terrifying. Wasting Audi was only secondary. What shocked Chen Tao the most was that palm that Wang Lin had sent at the Golden Lance. Chen Tao was very clear about what that Golden Lance was. He had heard from the All-Seer before that there was a spell that could harvest the power of the sun and condense it into a liquid. The All-Seer praised this spell a lot. Although the Golden Armored Man hadn't reached the cultivation level to turn the energy from the sun into liquid, that attack truly contained the power of the sun. Chen Tao believed that although he could use his palm to make it move a little, changing its direction completely with just two palms like Wang Lin did was extremely difficult. This was not a matter of cultivation level or celestial spiritual energy. This was a type of calculation, a type of deduction. If he was in this state when we battled for the position of true disciple, even though I would win, I would be seriously injured and have go into closed-door cultivator for 100 years. There is even a chance my cultivation level would fall. Chen Tao took a deep breath and looked at Wang Lin with a complex expression. The person that was most happy among everyone was, of course, Mo Lihai. He couldn't hide the smile on his face, and he felt that his decision back then was really wise. With our current relationship, we want to be enemies in the future. The stronger this Wang Lin is, the higher chance I have. However, the Golden Chief is being a bully right now. If there is a day that I become a commander-in-chief, I'll definitely teach him a lesson. A cold snort echoed across the square. This snort echoed across the square like a bolt of lightning. This thunderous echo caused the majority of people to focus their gazes on the person who let out the cold snort. The Golden Armored Man pointed at Wang Lin and shouted, "You know that anyone that kills a demon general will be killed. Seeing that demon general Audi isn't he dead, I'll spare you once. Audi is helper, come out." The two crowds on the two sides were completely silent before a weak voice said, "I give up." The Golden Armored Man's eyes were gloomy as he looked at Wang Lin and said, "You won this round. Stand down." Wang Lin didn't speak and walked through the demon generals. As he walked through, some of the demon generals before him subconsciously stepped back, making a path for him. When Wang Lin arrived by Mo Lihai's side, Mo Lihai's eyes lit up, and he softly said, "Brother Wang Lin, don't worry about this Golden Chief. He is only a eunuch. If the Demon Emperor really favors you, what is he?" Wang Lin faintly smiled but didn't speak. At this moment, deep inside the palace inside the Imperial Sword Pavilion, the Emperor's sword was inside the formation releasing bursts of sword hymns. Because it was also in the Imperial City at the moment Wang Lin attacked, it felt the same feeling that made it furious. In its anger, it flew out from the ground and was about to charge in and destroy that person like how it destroyed Hong Prison countless times. However, just as it flew into the air, it began to hesitate. After all, the Demon Emperor had told it to be quiet for a few days and not appear during the Demon General competition, or else it would be sent to the Dragon Lake. Thinking about this, the Emperor's sword let out a few frustrated sword hymns, and the tip of the blade pointed at the Sky Demon Gate. After struggling for a long time, it finally moved and turned into a girl about 20 years old. This girl had crystal clear eyes and was extremely beautiful. She landed on the ground and immediately kicked her feet many times. Every time she kicked her feet, there would be a flash of sword energy. Many places in the Sword Pavilion were destroyed because only after destroying them did some of her anger finally ease a bit. At this moment, her eyes turned. The Demon Emperor isn't allowing the Emperor's sword to leave, but I am the sword spirit, so it should be okay, it should be fine. Okay, I won attack. I am just going to get a good look at the despicable food and remember his aura to make it easier to find him. Yes, shouldn't be a problem. The girl blinked a few times before flying out of the Sword Pavilion and charging directly at the Sky Demon Gate. When she was about to arrive at the 10,000-foot square, her body turned into nothingness, and she landed on top of the roof of a nearby building and looked down. At the moment she appeared on top of the palace, 8 gazes seemed to casually look over. The girl's body trembled, and then she stuck out her tongue. The 8 gazes were from the 8 commander-in-chiefs. Several of them revealed faint smiles. Wang Lin was watching the rest of the Demon General competition when he suddenly felt something. He had a connection with Shu Liguo, who was inside the Celestial Sword. After all, Shu Liguo was personally refined by Wang Lin. At this moment, Shu Liguo wasn't obediently staying inside the bag of holding but shouting in Wang Lin's mind in a very excited tone. Master, let me out. My spring is finally here. Quickly, let me out. Wang Lin said in his mind. What's the matter? Master, do you still remember that Emperor's sword that has been looking for you? At first I didn't pay attention to it, but I just found out that the sword spirit is such a pretty little girl. Wang Lin's body trembled. Then he interrupted Shu Liguo's words and asked, Here? Shu Liguo proudly said, She is on top of the palace over there. Master, you won't be able to see her, only I can. After he finished speaking, he suddenly shivered and remembered Wang Lin's title as a fiend. Then he quickly said, This has nothing to do with cultivation. I am able to see her because I have learned a trick sword spirits can use from Little Black Blade. He said that high-quality sword spirits can feel others like us even when we re-inside a bag of holding. However, this is only if the other spirit has left their sword. Shu Liguo obviously knew what Wang Lin was thinking, so he immediately said, Master, you have to be fast. She is about to look over here. Master can reset assured. Little Black Blade has taught me a trick that allows me to hide my sword aura so that no one else can see me, so you can rest assured. Wang Lin frowned as he slapped his bag of holding and opened a small gap. No one noticed Shu Liguo's appearance. It was as if he was an invisible ghost. He turned into a cloud of smoke and flew toward the top of the palace. Hey, little beauty, your grandpa Shu brother Shu is coming. My grandma, how many years has it been since I had fun with the great beauty? Since that great beauty was ruined by Wang Lin, I'll definitely not let this little beauty go. Shu Liguo let out an obscene smile as he pounced toward the girl on top of the palace. The girl was about to look for that despicable food among the crowd when she looked dumbfoundedly at Shu Liguo, who was coming at her in a threatening manner. This completely startled her. Seeing the little beauty's surprised look, Shu Liguo felt proud and pounced at her. The girl gave him a stare as she threw a kick and a ray of sword energy immediately flew out at Shu Liguo. Shu Liguo let out a mischievous smile and said, We are both sword spirits, so there is no need to be so cold. With that, his body turned into a mist, allowing the sword energy to pierce through. The next instant, his body reformed and pounced at the girl once more like an evil wolf. The girl viciously stared at Shu Liguo. She no longer had time to find that food and immediately flew away. Shu Liguo let out a laugh and quickly followed. Then the two sword spirits quickly disappeared into the palace. Little beauty, just follow older brother. If you follow big brother, I promise you will have a good life. Don't think I am ugly. I even have a little brother. He is called Little Black. The reply he got was a ray of sword energy. Oh? Little beauty, you seem to have a temper, but that's no problem. Your big brother Shu likes those are that vicious. My master once said that the more vicious the little girl is, the more pretty her waist is. A ray of sword energy flew at him, and following the sword energy there was an angry cry. Your master is nothing good. Scram! Ah, you dared to scold master? Little Black, did you hear that? It is not that I want you to help me with my personal affair. I want you to fix her impression of master, so I have to ask you to help. Help me capture her. I am going to have a good talk with her. His answer was one strand after another of sword energy. As the sword energy flew through the sky, it was accompanied by Shu Liguo's obscene laughter. Although both were sword spirits, Shu Liguo was originally not her match, but with Little Black's help, they were equal, so neither could win against the other. In addition, Shu Liguo's current excited state also gave him a lot more momentum and allowed him to perform far beyond his capabilities. Before I was turned into a devil by that fiend, I was also a bully. Ah, it has been a very long time since those good times from back then. Now that I finally found you today, beauty, don't run. But Shu Liguo's obscene smile suddenly stopped, and he let out a roar. Shameless. You went back into your sword. I, Shu Liguo, will be back. Inside the sword pavilion, the Serpentine Emperor's sword raged and destroyed things in the sword pavilion. It wanted to rush out many times to kill that shameless bastard, but in the end it refrained from doing so. That shameless sword spirit is more spiteful than that despicable food. As time goes on, a heavy dizziness is setting in. My mind can't cope. Tomorrow I will continue to burst forth with all my might. In 12 hours that will be doubling the likes for the video, hoping that everyone is ready with 2 likes for Leo. Thank you. Chapter 585, Shu Liguo's Rebellion Fails. Part 1. The day quickly passed by. There were 6 more rounds, and Wang Lin won 3 more battles. The demon generals had no help in 2 of the battles, so he only needed to win 1 fight to win each one. Shu Liguo also came back to Wang Lin's bag of holding earlier. It wasn't certain that the girl's sword spirit was scared off by Shu Liguo's harassment. After turning to the sword, she didn't come out anymore. After the first day of the demon general competition ended, the various demon generals returned to their homes. This round will last for 7 to 10 more days. Fortunately, winners don't have to go, so Wang Lin was given a short period of time to rest. The competition between the demon generals and slaughter between cultivators was not something Wang Lin wanted to see every day. He'd rather not think about this matter, and preferred to go listen to the zither music while drinking wine. It was much more relaxing and carefree. Compared to Wang Lin, Mo Lihai's mentality was not as good. He would go to the competition every day and record any spells he thought were worth noting. Then every night, he would give the information to Wang Lin. All of his hopes were on Wang Lin. During these days, Wang Lin's heart was completely immersed in the music to help him find his Tao. He has been listening to this music for a while now, but he has always listened as a passerby who savored the taste of the zither music. As for Shu Liguo, after meeting the sword spirit maiden, he would endless talk about it to Wang Lin. He simply wanted Wang Lin to release him so he could go meet the little beauty. On this day, the boat hadn't arrived yet, and Wang Lin was lying on the side of the river while holding the wine jug. He looked up at the white clouds in the sky, and in his eyes, the clouds seemed to be undergoing a change. Many people often think that clouds are ethereal objects, but just like the zither music, they aren't nothingness. It is the human heart that is ethereal. If the heart couldn't be moved, then the clouds would be fixed. And if the heart isn't scared, then the zither music goes away. Wang Lin took a sip of wine. His eyes were filled with confusion. Ascendant. How can I make it so my domain meets the requirements to reach the ascendant stage at nascent soul stage? One comprehends one's domain to reach the soul formation stage. At the soul formation stage, one makes their domain real to reach the soul transformation stage. At the soul transformation stage, one can fuse their domain with their body, but it still isn't enough to reach the ascendant stage. My domain is already fused with my body, and my Tao heart was completed the moment Wan Er went to sleep. However, I am still missing a step. What exactly is this step? Everyone comprehends different domains, and thus all have different Tao, so it is impossible to ask. Even if I were to ask, it would actually be disadvantageous, as it could lead me down the wrong path. I can only cultivate by myself and comprehend it by myself. The confusion in his eyes became even stronger, but just at this moment, Shu Liguo's hysterical voice entered his brain. Master, let me out. That little beauty hasn't seen me for a long time and must miss me greatly. Master, do you have the heart to break a blessed couple up? Ah, Master, let me out. Wang Lin frowned. This Shu Liguo had been going on endlessly throughout these past few days, so he sealed the connection between them. After a few days of silence, Shu Liguo actually broke the seal and began shouting once more. Wang Lin, back then you forced me and the great beauty apart, and now you are trying to forcibly separate me and the little beauty. What is in your heart? You must be jealous. Yes, you are jealous of my lucky encounters with love. There was a hint of pride in Shu Liguo's angry voice. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. Although Shu Liguo was loyal, the premise was that Wang Lin was several times stronger than him, and Shu Liguo's new master must be weaker than Wang Lin, or at least not too much stronger, or else Shu Liguo's loyalty would immediately disappear. The giant demon clan ancestor was a good example. If it was changed to someone like the Ulcer, Ling Tianhu, or the blood ancestor, Shu Liguo would immediately sell Wang Lin out. Aside from this shortcoming, this devil also had another problem. Once it met a woman, it would change into a completely different person. Wang Lin thought that this was fixed after all these years, but it looked like he was still the same. However, Shu Liguo was naturally timid, so if he didn't have backing, he wouldn't dare to speak to Wang Lin like this. It seemed like Shu Liguo had hidden a lot of things after they left planet Suzaku. The coldness in Wang Lin's eyes increased. Shu Liguo didn't notice Wang Lin's state of mind, and continued to chatter on and on. Wang Lin, when you took the great beauty away from me, I thought you had some great use for her, but unfair. My poor great beauty was used as an adultery prop for you and that slut, Lu Mei. Wang Lin calmly said, "You've said enough." "Enough? That's not enough. Let me out so I can find the little beauty and then it will be enough." Shu Liguo's voice became somewhat weak. He vaguely felt like something he said had ticked this fiend off, but after thinking about the spells he had learned during this time, his courage suddenly increased. Just as Shu Liguo was about to continue, Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding, and the celestial sword flew out. Shu Liguo let out a happy cheer and immediately came out of the celestial sword. A thick black gas turned into a black mist before it turned into Shu Liguo. He let out a laugh and was about to fly straight to the imperial palace. However, just at this moment, Wang Lin's eyes became cold, and his right hand reached out and grabbed the celestial sword. He wiped his hand over the sword, and the sword released a burst of light and trembled. Shu Liguo immediately turned toward Wang Lin and shouted, "Wang Lin, what are you doing?" Wang Lin coldly looked at Shu Liguo. This gaze was like a pot of cold water being poured over Shu Liguo, and he immediately awakened from his lust. Wang Lin's gaze immediately reminded Shu Liguo of the day Wang Lin refined him into a devil. Then various scenes of these past several hundred years flashed through his mind. This is a fiend. What isn't he willing to do? He killed the entire Tang family, and he killed countless people on planet Suzaku. I.e. Shu Liguo trembled. Master Shu Liguo immediately revealed a smile to please. Wang Lin coldly looked at Shu Liguo. The more Wang Lin acted like this, the more scared he became. Various scenes of Wang Lin's past slaughters emerged in his heart. "I gave you the body of a devil, let you rise up to a sword spirit, and let you stay in the celestial sword to protect yourself." Wang Lin's voice was calm, but when it entered Shu Liguo's ears, he couldn't help but secretly curse. "Now I am going to take it back." Wang Lin's left hand swiped past the celestial sword and Shu Liguo let out a miserable groan. His entire body trembled when Wang Lin wiped his connection to the flying sword. Shu Liguo's body immediately turned into a cloud of black fog. At the moment Wang Lin cut him off from the celestial sword, he felt the killing intent he hadn't felt for hundreds of years. "My grandma, this is real killing intent. This fiend wants to kill me." Shu Liguo let out a scream and wanted to immediately escape. After he helped Wang Lin with the giant demon clan ancestor, he hadn't felt this killing intent that followed him for most of his life. A tiger is still a tiger. No matter docile it becomes, it will never become a cat. Shu Liguo bitterly smiled in his heart as he remembered this old proverb from his hometown. Shu Liguo was just about to escape, but Wang Lin's eyes became cold and countless restrictions appeared before Shu Liguo. Then Shu Liguo let out a scream before his body turned into a ray of sharp sword energy. He managed to break through the restrictions Wang Lin placed and shot off into the distance. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, and he revealed a sneer. This Shu Liguo really had concealed a lot, like the ability to turn into a sword. This was something he definitely didn't know back in planet Suzaku. The second watch has come. So thankful for the praise from the new clan leader. Last night Leo started from the starting point, immediately saw a new follower. I'm ecstatic. Thank you everyone. Chapter 586, Shu Liguo's Rebellion Fails, Part 2. At this moment there were sounds of explosions coming from inside his bag of holding. Clearly there was something going crazy inside his bag of holding. He waved his hand and increased the amount of seals on the bag. After doing this, he coldly looked at where Shu Liguo ran off to and said, "Come back!" After he said that, the restriction he had left inside Shu Liguo's body activated. Shu Liguo's wail came from the distance, but soon this wailing faded away. Wang Lin's eyes became even colder. As I expected, unless this devil Shu Liguo was confident in going against the restriction I placed on him all those years ago, he definitely wouldn't be so disobedient. Wang Lin took a step forward and crossed over 1,000 feet with just one step. Although Shu Liguo was able to resist the restriction through some unknown method, he couldn't cut the connection between him and Wang Lin. With just this, Wang Lin could catch him. Shu Liguo escaped at full speed. He used to be a soul, but now that he was a sword spirit, his speed was far faster than before. At this moment, due to fear, he was displaying his full strength as he desperately fled like a ghost. "Fiend, I have contributed so much, and yet you actually tried to kill me. Didn't I just find a little beauty I love? Didn't I just hide a little secret? Didn't I just decide to find a chance to take the celestial sword and Little Black to run away?" Shu Liguo let out a sigh. and realized why the fiend wanted to kill him. After he met Little Black, he learned a lot of spells used by sword spirits. Also, with the help of Little Black, the two of them spent a lot of effort to finally loosen the restriction Wang Lin had placed in his body. Shu Liguo was very timid, so he was always very careful. He used the moment when Wang Lin was in a big battle with another to loosen the seal in him, so Wang Lin indeed didn't notice. Originally, he was extremely proud, but he underestimated Wang Lin's suspicion and scheming and allowed Wang Lin to see through his lies. Alas, if I knew this was going to happen, Shu Liguo shook his head and quickly fled. He was very fast, and soon he was about to escape from Sky Demon City. He turned around to look back at the Imperial Palace and revealed a trace of solemnity. "Goodbye, my beloved little beauty. One day I'll come back and find you." This guy, even until now, only thought of his little beauty and completely forgot about this little brother, the Black Blade. Shu Liguo revealed a hint of sadness before turning around, and he was about to continue escaping when he suddenly stopped. His expression changed slightly, but he immediately showed an expression meant to please and flatter. "My master, your speed is so fast. It seems your cultivation has increased a lot. You are indeed worthy of being my master." Wang Lin appeared 100 feet before Shu Liguo. His face was filled with indifference. Wang Lin slowly said, "You sure have guts." Shu Liguo's body trembled as he kneeled to the ground, hammered his chest, and begged, "Master, I know I was wrong, really wrong. I will never dare to do it again." Just as he got here, the restriction around Wang Lin's bag of holding collapsed, and a black light flew out of it without his permission. The black light flew toward Wang Lin at an unimaginable speed. If Wang Lin was still at the mid-stage of soul transformation, it would have been impossible for him to dodge at this distance. Even now, at the peak of the late stage of soul transformation, it was still not easy. But right now, Wang Lin didn't even look at that black light. This time, he would completely subdue this black half-moon blade. Life seals quickly surrounded Wang Lin's body, and when the blade collided with the life seals, there was the sound of metal colliding. The black, half-moon blade was bounced back. Wang Lin reached out with his finger, but the black, half-moon blade managed to dodge it. Then it circled around once more and madly charged at Wang Lin. This time its target was between Wang Lin's eyebrows. The sound of metal colliding could be heard once more, and the black half-moon blade was bounced back once more. This time, it looked extremely angry as it backed up and to try to attack again. However, just at this moment, it suddenly turned toward Shu Liguo and seemed like it wanted to take Shu Liguo and escape. Interesting. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Now that he had the life seals battling it, the half-moon blade was a lot easier to deal with than the first time. As the half-moon blade flew toward Shu Liguo, Wang Lin took a step and celestial spiritual energy immediately began to spread with his foot as the center. The celestial spiritual energy instantly spread over 1,000 feet, reacting with the seal inside Shu Liguo's body and causing Shu Liguo to freeze for a moment. Shu Liguo looked like he was really regretting what he did, but on the inside, he was cursing loudly at Wang Lin. That, however, did him no good. At the same time, Wang Lin's hand formed seals, creating restrictions that floated in the air. These restrictions created a larger, incomplete restriction. The set of restrictions was missing one, and the missing piece was inside Shu Liguo. Although Wang Lin spent much painstaking effort to set the restriction back then, it was still so much weaker than what he could do now. Now that the restrictions were activated, Shu Liguo's body immediately began to involuntarily fly toward it. The half-moon blade was very anxious and wanted to stop this, but Wang Lin arrived before it in just one step. It had to dodge and thus was delayed, and Shu Liguo watched that set of restrictions enter his body. His body trembled as he revealed a flattering smile and begged, "Master, see that? Now the restriction is also here, so please forgive me. I really want to dare to rebel again." Wang Lin ignored Shu Liguo and reached toward the half-moon blade. The half-moon blade wanted to dodge again, but Wang Lin's eyes became cold, and he shouted, "Slaughter energy!" The new chapter is late, but it has over 500 more words than the previous ones. I hope not to be hit. Wishing for the like button for the video. Chapter 587. Shu Liguo's Rebellion Fails, Part 3. At this moment, strands of gray gas charged out from between Wang Lin's eyebrows. More than 3,000 strands of gray gas charged out and surrounded the half-moon blade. But the half-moon blade was too fast. It took advantage of the moment the gray gas was still closing in to charge out. However, just as it broke free, Wang Lin appeared before it and flicked it back in. Wang Lin, he said, "Gather." More than 3,000 strands of slaughter energy quickly condensed into a sphere. There were sounds of collisions coming from inside the sphere, but no matter what the half-moon blade did, it couldn't charge out. Wang Lin no longer looked at the half-moon blade, and his cold gaze fell on Shu Liguo. Shu Liguo's body shivered, and he giggled. "Master, what command do you have?" "Want me to go persuade Little Black? I'll definitely make him obedient in the future." Wang Lin looked at Shu Liguo and asked, "Do you know why I let you go look for that sword spirit?" Shu Liguo quickly nodded and said, "I know, I understand." Although he said this, he thought in his heart, "Clearly you just want to separate me and the little beauty. I guess there's an 80% chance that you are eyeing the little beauty yourself." "Alas, I, Shu Liguo, am so unfortunate to have my wife stolen from me at such a young age. In Sky Demon City, experts are as common as clouds. Do you really think no one will notice you? Once you are found with your weak cultivation, you will only be caught, have your will wiped away, and become the sword spirit for their treasure." "Shu Liguo, you still don't understand?" Wang Lin's voice echoed in Shu Liguo's heart like a giant bell. He was startled and was dumbfounded. Then he weakly said, "This I can be found." His heart began to pound. After listening to Wang Lin, he 80% believed him. He wondered if he was caught by someone else, would that person be as curious as the giant demon clan ancestor? However, if I were caught by the owner of the little beauty, it would be a good thing. Then me and the little beauty would be together. Shu Liguo secretly thought this, but he didn't dare to say it to Wang Lin. Wang Lin coldly looked at Shu Liguo as if he had seen through Shu Liguo's inner thoughts. Shu Liguo was nervous, but instead of backing down, he opened his eyes wider and looked at Wang Lin. He thought to himself, hold it, and it will be victory for me. The more nervous I am, the more I have to maintain this act." Wang Lin slowly said, "You learned quite a bit from the blade spirit from the black half-moon blade." Shu Liguo blinked his eyes and without hesitation told Wang Lin all of the sword spells he had learned, including how he could conceal his presence, completely fuse with the celestial sword, and at full strength, make the celestial sword several times stronger and so on. As he spoke, he secretly gauged Wang Lin's mood, and was very careful. He hadn't experienced this kind of feeling in hundreds of years, but now that he was feeling it again, it didn't feel unfamiliar to him at all. After he finished listening to Shu Liguo speak, Wang Lin reached out toward the sphere formed by the slaughter energy. There was no longer any sound coming from inside it. When Wang Lin touched the small sphere, strands of slaughter energy returned to his body. When only several hundred strands of slaughter energy were left, a ray of blade energy suddenly charged out, but because it was entangled by slaughter energy, it couldn't help but slow down. Wang Lin was already prepared. He pinched his fingers, and the blade energy immediately collapsed. The black half-moon blade struggled violently between his fingers. Wang Lin opened his mouth and spat some origin energy on the half-moon blade. Then his eyes lit up. He didn't have time to slowly refine it, so he went for the direct route. He didn't care if he was going to harm the blade spirit, and decided to directly engrave his aura into the half-moon blade. After doing this, he waved his right hand and the half-moon blade flew out, releasing an unwilling blade hymn. Wang Lin took out the celestial sword and threw it at Shu Liguo. Shu Liguo relaxed a lot as he revealed a joyous expression and fused with the sword. The half-moon blade floated in the air, and when it noticed that Shu Liguo was no longer in danger, it hesitated. Although it disliked Wang Lin, in the end, it followed Shu Liguo's example and floated beside Wang Lin. To be more accurate, the half-moon blade was following Shu Liguo. Shu Liguo was inside the celestial sword as he looked at the black half-moon blade and felt very proud. See, even the fiend can subdue Little Black, and all I had to do was wave my finger to make him my little brother. It looks like my charm is much stronger than this fiend's. Thinking about this, he felt very pleasant and thought, no matter how strong this fiend is, he can never match me on this. Also, I am far more flexible than him. Also, I have better luck with beauties. Both the great beauty and little beauty are mine. He can match me on this. Aside from his cultivation level being a little higher than mine, I am better than him at everything else. Alas, an outstanding devil such as myself is rare in this world. the loneliness Shu Liguo felt very good about himself. He even had sense of superiority. Now he looked at Wang Lin from the celestial sword with a trace of sympathy and pride. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and Shu Liguo quickly flew inside, followed by the half-moon blade. At the moment Shu Liguo entered the bag of holding, he suddenly stopped. He looked at the imperial city in the distance and thought, "Little beauty, your brother Shu is back. I'm not leaving anymore. If I can take you away, I'm not leaving this sky demon city." Inside the sword pavilion of the imperial palace, the serpentine sword trembled. Then it turned into the form of a girl, wrinkled her nose, and viciously said, "That despicable and shameless sword spirit better not let me see him again. If I see him again, even if it goes against the Emperor's orders, I'll take the sword and slice him in half." After retrieving the sword and blade, Wang Lin returned to Hong City. The day had gone by, and it was now night, as Wang Lin flew toward the Mo Mansion. As he flew, he frowned, stopped, and said, "What is it?" Several people appeared on the other side of this long road. There were males and females among them, and all of them were at the soul transformation stage. Some had even reached the mid and late stages of soul transformation. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he looked at the cultivators before him without speaking at all. He found no killing intent coming from them, but instead felt powerful grief and indignation. A white-robed man walked out from the group. He had a bright look as he clasped his hands at Wang Lin and said, "I had already heard of Brother Wang Lin's fame back on planet Tianyun. The battle at the Demon General competition a few days ago made me and others admire you greatly." Wang Lin looked at everyone, and more or less knew what they were thinking. At this moment, he also clasped his hands and said, "You flatter me." The white-robed man let out a sigh and said, "I am the junior sect master of the Jade Sword sect. I was forced to get involved in the Demon General competition. Brother Wang's actions a few days ago were like a blow to my head that awakened me. In this demon spirit land, we cultivators are lower than ants. Demon generals can't die, and killing a demon generals means we die with them, so in the end, only cultivators can die. We are like actors performing for the enjoyment of the demon generals." Wang Lin pondered and didn't speak. "This is Demon General Audius Helper." The man pointed at the person beside him. A middle-aged man wearing a Taoist robe stepped out, clasped his hands, and respectfully said, "Fellow cultivator Wang, Audius' death has also awakened me. Although merits in the demon spirit land are good, what's the use if I don't have a life to enjoy it?" The white-robed man let out a sigh and said, "It is not by choice that we cultivators are here fighting for the amusement of the demon generals. These fellow cultivators with me are all ready to leave Sky Demon City. Today we are here to say goodbye to fellow cultivator Wang. Goodbye." With that, he took a deep breath and flew into the sky. The several cultivators behind him all said their farewells to Wang Lin and disappeared over the horizon. Wang Lin quietly stood there as he stared at where all the cultivators went, and he silently pondered. Cultivators were people who walked against the heavens and naturally had their pride. If they bowed down for power, then they were no longer going against the heavens but merely adapting. However, going against the heavens had its own meaning. The cultivators that left weren't rebelling, but avoiding. A true rebellion was to not avoid the world, not avoid fate, not avoid the laws of the heavens, but to walk against it all. Cultivators without their own Tao are no longer cultivators. Wang Lin didn't fly but walked down the road. His shadow under the moonlight was very long. Cultivation rebelling against the heavens having their own Tao. Wang Lin slowly walked on the road. This road seemed endless. After an unknown amount of time, the Mo Mansion appeared before him. The light from the lantern outside the Mo Mansion was very gentle. It was like the beacon of light in the darkness. Wang Lin stopped walking and silently looked at it. Although the light was small, it could illuminate the Mo Mansion's plaque. The night breeze caused the lantern to shake, and even the flame inside it was flickering. Although the weather was like this, the flame of the lantern stubbornly remained lit. As Wang Lin silently stood in the dark, his eyes revealed a hint of enlightenment. However, this still wasn't enough. He felt like he had caught something, but in the blink of an eye, it felt like there was nothing at all. An astonishing metamorphosis was silently taking root inside Wang Lin. Time slowly passed, and the darkness covering the earth was slowly forced to retreat by the sun rising on the east. In Wang Lin's eyes, the darkness retreated like the low tide. At this moment, It was as if lightning had flashed across Wang Lin's mind while zither music echoed in his head. At this moment, it was as if he had reached a moment of enlightenment. Can the dark night being swept away by the sun be considered act of defiance? This defying nature will be the key to achieving the ascendant stage. Wang Lin had a vague idea. His understanding was not very deep, but it had taken root. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a mysterious light. Instead of returning to the Mo mansion, he headed toward the lake. He sat on the riverside like an old monk meditating. Although there was no zither music being played, in his ears the sound continued to echo. The zither music has no emotion, but due to the sadness in the heart, it becomes sad music. This isn't rebelling, it's different from what I felt earlier. Then why it is that when I listen to the zither music, I can feel the sense of rebellion. It was now noon, so the sun was blazing at the top of the sky. The boats arrived, and the young man from several days ago was beside the woman playing the zither. This time, his gaze fell on Wang Lin while he was still far away. As the zither music floated into Wang Lin's ears, the young man stood up beside the woman, held his wine cup, and raised it toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin picked up the wine jug, shook it, and took a drink. The young man shook his head as he pointed at the boat's bow. He hadn't taken a single sip. Wang Lin chuckled. Although this young man looked ordinary, he gave off a carefree feeling. Wang Lin pondered a bit before walking across the river and landing on the bow of the boat. The woman playing the zither didn't notice that there was now an extra person on the boat. She continued to play the music filled with sadness. The young man smiled and drank the entire cup. Then he waved his sleeves and sat down. Wang Lin also sat down, and he drank from his wine jug. He listened to the zither music up close and quietly watched the woman's jade hands. None of the three people on the bow of the boat spoke. After the young man invited Wang Lin, he only smiled, and Wang Lin didn't want to speak because this zither music had already moved him. Any other sound would just be white noise compared to the zither music. The zither music was endless as the boat floated down the river. Wang Lin spent the entire day on the boat with the young man. If the two of them ran out of wine, a servant would come out from the boat and prepare wine for them. The day slowly darkened and lights were lit up on the sides of the river. There were even lights coming from the boats. They were quite beautiful. When the boat returned to where Wang Lin first boarded, he stood up, clasped his hands at the young man, and was about to leave. At this moment, the young man who hadn't spoken all day softly said, "Brother seems to have a different comprehension when listening to the zither music." Wang Lin paused and said, "It reminds me of an old friend." The young man drank from the cup and bitterly said, "No wonder. Those without any worries wouldn't be moved by this zither music. It looks like brother is the same as me." As the two spoke, the woman playing the zither trembled, and the zither music also trembled with her. The young man said, "If brother has nothing to do, how about the two of us drink until dawn while listening to Lady Ming Xuan's zither music?" Wang Lin pondered a bit. Then he looked at the young man and nodded. "That's good." The young man faintly smiled as he poured another cup and said, "I have observed brother for several days now. Although you are by the riverside, your heart isn't there. It is as if you are just a passerby." Wang Lin took a drink and said, "I am merely a commoner. Even if I was a passerby, it was only an illusion. Are you not the same? Although your soul is here, your body is somewhere else." The young man gave Wang Lin a meaningful look and said, "Too many rude guests at home. It is too noisy there, so my soul came here to find some peace." Wang Lin softly said, "So you are a man with a family?" The young man asked, "Brother doesn't have a home?" "I do, however. It is very far, very far." The valley from planet Suzaku appeared in Wang Lin's mind. The young man asked, "Is there anyone else at home?" "No one." "You?" Wang Lin picked up the wine jug and took a drink. "I have a niece, but she is far too naughty, and recently she has been bothered by a bad customer." While speaking of this, the young man smiled. The two of them chatted for a bit before running out of words. Then they just quietly sat there. Bathed in moonlight, the two listened to the zither music while drinking wine. The night passed by, and a glimmer of light appeared over the horizon and slowly illuminated the earth. Ming Xuan had long ago left to rest, but the two men still sat motionlessly on the boat. Although the zither was no longer being played, the zither music still played in their ears. Wang Lin picked up the wine jug and clasped his hands at the young man. He then took a step and disappeared into the morning mist. Inside the Imperial City, the first round of the Demon General competition had come to an end. Only 48 Demon Generals remained from the hundreds at the start. The rest all lost or were disqualified due to having a victory and a defeat. During the several days the first round took place, no one other than IOD suffered heavy injuries among the Demon Generals. However, the deaths and injuries were very serious among cultivators. After all, this was a slaughter between cultivators. When the people of the Dalu sword sect went against the Demon Generals, they stopped without doing much harm. However, against the cultivators, they were extremely vicious, as if they were trying to display their strength. The morning sunlight swept across the 10,000-foot square. There were even more people watching than before. After all, the following battle was when the real fights would take place. Except for a few that made it through luck, all of the remaining contenders were famous. 48 Demon Generals walked through the Sky Demon Gate. A powerful battle intent seemed to form a primordial beast that charged through the gate the moment it was opened. The golden-armored man, at the center of the square, coldly looked at everyone that entered. When he saw Wang Lin, he let out a cold snort. From his point of view, a mere cultivator had dared to seriously injure a Demon General. In his mind, that was enough for him to kill this person hundreds of times. In my demon spirit land, these so-called cultivators are just a bunch of bandits. Their purpose here is nothing other than trying to get the ancient demon inheritance, so if they die, then they die. However, if they dare to hurt a Demon General, then they have committed a great crime. The golden-armored man was extremely dissatisfied with Wang Lin, and a killing intent appeared in his heart. Wang Lin coldly looked at the golden-armored man. He cultivated the celestial slaughter art, so he was extremely sensitive to killing intent. After the Demon Generals and helpers had all walked through the Sky Demon Gate, it slowly closed with a thunderous roar. The golden-armored man pointed at the war drum and coldly said, "Following the Demon Emperor's order, the second round has changed. It will no longer be a battle, but a competition to ring this war drum." After he said that, all of the various Demon Generals' expressions changed and became bright. Even Mo Lihai trembled, and his eyes glowed like they never had before. War Demon Drum. This is a holy treasure of my Sky Demon country, second only to the Dragon Lake. Normally, only when a Vice Commander-in-Chief gets promoted to Commander-in-Chief are they allowed to ring that drum. The Demon General competition never changed before. So why did it change today? It looks like the matter of choosing 2 new Vice Commander-in-Chiefs isn't groundless after all. It is said that every Commander-in-Chief rings this drum when they accept their position, but it is extremely hard to ring. So far, only the Heaven Commander-in-Chief has managed to ring it 15 times. Debates began to echo like never before. Even the debates from when Wang Lin seriously injured Audi were much weaker than this. The golden-armored man let out a cold snort that spread across the square like thunder, causing everyone to quiet down. Although he didn't understand the Demon Emperor's order, he still coldly said, "This drum was left behind by the first Demon Emperor of the Sky Demon country, and rumor has it that it is made from the skin of an ancient demon. Those without enough strength will explode before they can even ring it once. If you can ring it 3 times, you are strong. If you can ring it 6 times, you are a genius blessed by the heavens. There are not many of you who can ring it 3 times. The top 10 of this round move on. The end of the year is here, brothers. Give a like for Leo. Chapter Bet, Part 1. The rule of this round is that the amount of times the Demon Generals and their helpers can ring the drum are added together. After the golden-armored man finished speaking, he didn't let the people have time to begin talking again. He pointed at someone in the crowd and said, "Demon General Yu Sen, come out!" A person walked out from the group of Demon Generals. His eyes were cold, and his armor made crisp sounds as he walked. He soon arrived before the demon drum. As he looked at the demon drum, his eyes suddenly lit up, and the powerful battle intent in his heart was ignited. He didn't immediately act, but silently stood there and adjusted the demonic spiritual energy in his body to ensure he was in peak condition. After all, he had no confidence in ringing this drum, because to him this drum was like a holy relic. The golden-armored man looked at Yu Sen and thought, with Yu Sen's cultivation, he should be able to ring it 4 times. If he forces a 5th time, he will be crushed. He only took a glance before closing his eyes. Everyone's gazes gathered on Yu Sen, but he was completely indifferent to them. In order to prevent himself from being disturbed by others, he closed his eyes and completely ignored the outside world. He eventually released an evil aura around his body that spread out into the air and continued to condense. Waves of discussion spread from the surrounding seats. The Tao of Slaughter is extremely hard to cultivate. This Yu Sen cultivated it for many years, and being the first person up, I'm afraid he will definitely become famous. Who knows? This demon drum is made from the skin of an ancient demon. Even if Yu Sen can ring it, he will be injured from the backlash. The 8 commander-in-chiefs also looked at Yu Sen with looks of interest in their eyes. However, they didn't need to talk like everyone else. They just needed one look to be able to clearly see what was happening. Although the 6 vice commander-in-chiefs didn't have the insight the commander-in-chiefs had, they had high cultivation levels, so they could see some clues on this matter. Only the Xuan vice commander-in-chief wasn't looking at Yu Sen at all, but was instead looking at Wang Lin. Wang Lin, I wonder how many times you can ring it. Just as he was thinking this, the yellow vice commander-in-chief smiled. Xuan vice commander-in-chief, I am afraid I will be winning our bet. The cultivator you chose can only go on his own, so he will without a doubt lose. The Xuan vice commander-in-chief let out a cold snort and said, You just wait and see. This person is definitely not as simple as you think. As the two of them talked, Yu Sen suddenly opened his eyes, and it was like the war god had descended on his body. The light released from his eyes was as bright as the moon. A roar that sounded like it was coming from a tiger or dragon came out from Yu Sen's mouth. Then he leaped through the air like a sword that was just unsheathed and flew directly at the demon drum. While in the air, his 2 fingers formed a sword. At this moment, all of the energy in his body gathered on his fingers. Then he stabbed forth with his 2 fingers pointed at the demon drum. The black drum sunk in slightly, but it was to a very small degree. Right after it sank in a bit, it immediately bounced back. A muffled drum sound echoed across the sky. It spread across the square, could be heard throughout the entire imperial city, and even affected a small portion of Sky Demon City. At the moment the drum rang, Yu Sen felt an unimaginable force coming from the demon drum. The force was piercing through his body. Yu Sen's face became pale and his eyes filled with killing intent. Rather than retreating, he took another step and his 2 fingers landed on the demon drum again. Dah! The sound of the drum was like thunder descending. Yu Sen let out a roar and the demonic spiritual energy around him turned into various faces. Each of these faces had different expressions, but they all quickly disappeared. Every time a face disappeared, another one appeared. Soul-devouring slaughter. First layer. Yu Sen's voice seemed to come from the depths of hell. After he shouted this, all of the faces in pain seemed to find an outlet and madly charged toward Yu Sen's right hand. His entire right hand released a blinding blue light. Yu Sen let out a roar. Then his right hand formed a palm and slammed down on the demon drum. Before he touched the demon drum, the wind created by the force landed on the drum. The 3rd drum sound echoed across the world. At this moment, everyone nearby was moved. Although there were some tricks behind using the wind created by the palm to hit the drum, this showed just how powerful this soul-devouring slaughter spell was. After the wind passed, Yu Sen's right hand pressed down on the drum. At almost the moment the 3rd ring came, the 4th quickly followed. The 2 sounds spread out like rolling thunder. Yu Sen quickly retracted his right hand and retreated. Then he backed up thousands of feet before finally stabilizing himself. His face turned red and he forced himself to not cough out blood. His right hand was trembling, and he had lost all sensation from it. He had used over 80% of the demonic spiritual energy in his body on that spell. The golden-armored man slowly said, 4 times, Demon General Yu Sen as helper, come out! Yu Sen took a deep breath and said, I don't have a helper. The golden-armored man's gaze moved away from Yu Sen and landed among the demon generals to pick another one. He first looked at Wang Lin and sneered, but he didn't call him out. Instead, he looked at Mo Fei and said, Demon General Mo Fei, come out! After he said that, all of the discussions stopped, and every gaze fell on one person. This person was wearing armor, and had a hideous mask over his face. His long black hair flowed in the wind as he walked out from the crowd. His pace wasn't fast, but to the people watching, it was as if his steps had the exact same frequency as their heartbeats. Demon General Mo Fei, 300 years ago he was number 1 among demon generals. This person spent most of his time at the border. It is said that Mo Fei's head is worth a lot in the eyes of the fire demon country. This Mo Fei's cultivation is very mysterious. Even until now, everyone has only ever seen him use the great rotating disc spell. I am confident this person can at least ring the drum 5 times. Mo Fei, the Earth Commander-in-Chief, looked at Mo Fei, revealed a smile, and said, if this child can experience the Dragon Lake one more time, he can be considered top 3 among the Vice Commander-in-Chiefs. A middle-aged man in purple robes who looked very elegant smiled and said, could it be that your love for genius is moved by Mo Fei? The Earth Commander-in-Chief laughed and nodded. The Earth Commander-in-Chief laughed again. If this child can ring the drum 6 times, even if it's not enough for him to become a Vice Commander-in-Chief, I'll recommend him. As Mo Fei casually walked toward the demon drum, everyone's gazes followed his movements. When he was 100 feet from the demon drum, he stopped and looked at it. He didn't waste any time to adjust his body and punched at the air. Dong! The sound of the drum echoed across the square like muffled thunder. Mo Fei's armor seemed like it was being blown by a powerful wind, and violent crackling sounds came from it. His hair was also blown back like crazy by this wind, but his body didn't move at all, almost like he was nailed to the ground. Even his expression didn't have the slightest change. So it is not that hard. This person chuckled as he stepped forward 10 feet and threw another punch. Dah! Mo Fei didn't stop. He stepped forth another 10 feet and threw one more punch at the air. Dah! The 3 rings from the drum were like the roars of an ancient beast that echoed in the sky above Sky Demon City. The sounds of the drum echoed endlessly. Some of the spectators didn't have enough demonic spiritual energy, so they suffered internal injuries. After ringing it 3 times, Mo Fei paused for a moment because he felt an unimaginable force rushing toward him from the demon drum. He took another step and became like an unmoving rock among raging waves. The armor around his body shook violently, but it stabilized when he spread out his demonic aura. Mo Fei's eyes lit up like burning torches, and he revealed a serious expression as he muttered to himself, interesting. He stepped forward another 10 feet and threw a punch. Dah! He didn't stop after 1 punch and threw another punch. Dah! Mo Fei continued to walk forward, closing the distance between him and the demon drum. Every time he took a step, he would throw a punch. Dong! At the moment the 6th ring occurred, almost everyone watching began to cheer. Even all the commander-in-chiefs, except for the Heaven Commander-in-Chief, revealed looks of admiration for Mo Fei's talent. Mo Fei! Mo Fei! Waves of cheers came from the surrounding people. Someone who could ring the drum 6 times could be considered a genius blessed by the heavens. He wasn't injured at all after ringing the drum 6 times. He was even relaxed. Just this point placed him far above all the other demon generals. Even the golden-armored man nodded. The look of admiration for Mo Fei's talent was strong. Can 6 rings make me stop? Mo Fei's eyes shined brightly as he jumped into the air and slammed down on the demon drum. Dong! The 7th ring echoed. The last 2 days of the month are upon us, wishing for the like button for the VIDEO. Right now, it's about doubling the likes for the VIDEO. Very grateful and will return the favor. Chapter Bet, Part 2. This 7th sound was very different from the first 6. There seemed to be a killing intent hidden deep within it. Mo Fei's always calm face changed for the first time, and without any hesitation he quickly backed up. As he backed up, the armor on his body exploded into ashes and dissipated. Mo Fei's face was somewhat pale, but he stopped his body, let out a roar, and charged out once more. This time his hand formed seals, and strands of energy came out from his body, forming a crystal-like mirror that circled around him. He hit the drum with his finger and the demon drum rang once more. This was the 8th time. An even more violent backlash rushed at Mo Fei, causing all of the crystal mirrors around him to shatter. However, even though the mirrors weakened the force by a lot, when it landed on Mo Fei's body, it still caused him to retreat more than 1,000 feet before he stabilized himself. His mask completely shattered, revealing his handsome face. Wang Lin's eyes immediately narrowed as he stared at Mo Fei's eyes. Wang Lin's eyes were filled with a mysterious light. This appearance. Wang Lin was able to recognize at a glance that this person looked exactly the same as the black-haired man in the depths of Hong Prison. At this moment, Mo Fei's body trembled, and he forcibly swallowed the blood that had rushed to his mouth. Then he took a deep breath before turning around and walking toward the demon generals. At this moment, loud cheers came from the square. This sound was extremely loud and seemed to overshadow everything else. Mo Fei, the #1 among demon generals. For him to be able to ring it 8 times, Mo Fei is number 1 below the commander-in-chiefs. This time, Mo Fei will definitely become a vice commander-in-chief. He has many military exploits, and once he becomes a vice commander-in-chief, he will definitely achieve many military victories for our Sky Demon country. The Heaven Commander-in-Chief was still calm and showed no sign of being impressed, while the other 7 Commander-in-Chiefs all revealed deep looks of admiration for Mo Fei's talent. For this child to be able to ring it 8 times, he can be considered a genius among geniuses. Good. That is right. From my observations, this child doesn't seem to be using his full force. If he really tries, he might be able to ring it a 9th time. To be so cunning at such a young age is extremely rare. The Vice Commander-in-Chiefs were also talking to each other. The Yellow Vice Commander-in-Chief smiled at the Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief and said, "Are you still not going to admit defeat?" The Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief let out a snort and said, with a firm tone, "This Mo Fei is strong, very strong. I was not as strong as him when I was his age. It can even be said that once he goes through the baptism at the Dragon Lake, he will be even stronger than me. But compared to the person I chose, Mo Fei is still not enough." The Yellow Vice Commander-in-Chief originally didn't care too much about this wager, but seeing the Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief, who was equal in strength to him, constantly praising this person was strange. He had a vague feeling that this was no longer praise, because he could almost hear fear in the Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief's voice. He couldn't help but be extremely shocked. The Yellow Vice Commander-in-Chief faintly smiled and said, "Good, then I want to see how many times this person can ring the drum." The Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief pondered as he looked at Wang Lin with a complex expression. He thought to himself, Mo Fei is merely strong while this Wang Lin is terrifying. Can you compare strong and terrifying? The golden-armored man watched Mo Fei walk back into the crowd of demon generals. His eyes were filled with admiration for Mo Fei's talent, and for the first time he smiled. "Demon General Mo Fei's helper, come out!" A green-robed cultivator with a giant sword on his back came out. It felt like he was a sword when he was standing there. The moment he stepped out, he turned into a cloud of green smoke and charged at the demon drum. At the moment he closed in on the demon drum, his hand formed a seal, and he pointed at the void, causing the drum to beat once. Then his hand turned into a palm. He chanted a complex chant and slammed forward, causing the drum to beat once more. The fierce backlash caused his face to turn slightly pale, but he didn't retreat. Instead, he grabbed the sword on his back and swung down. A ray of sword energy cut through the backlash and drum beat before landing on the drum. The drum echoed once more. After the 3rd ring, the cultivator's face was extremely pale from the powerful force rushing at him. Every time he hit the drum, he suffered backlash several times stronger than the previous hit. He let out a wry smile before backing off without any hesitation and no longer tried to hit it. With my cultivation, 3 times is easy. If I really give it my all, 4 times is possible. If I tried to go for the 5th time, I would be seriously injured. Mo Fei's victory is already set, so it is really not worth it to get seriously injured because of him. The green-robed cultivator pondered a bit and walked back into the crowd. 11 times... Mo Fei and his helper were able to ring it a total of 11 times. This result caused the expressions of a lot of the demon generals to darken. To beat this score, the demon generals and their helpers would have to ring it 6 times each. However, this was an almost impossible task. After all, among all the demon generals, there was only one Mo Fei. Even Mo Lihai's face was extremely pale. He bitterly looked at the demon drum and then at Wang Lin with a gloomy expression. He let out a sigh and whispered, "Brother Wang, forget it. We lost this 2nd round." There was another person among the demon generals, Xianxia. His face was dark as he stared at the demon drum and asked, "Chen Tao, how many times can you ring it?" Chen Tao pondered a bit and said, "If I was at full strength, I could ring it more than 10 times. I don't know the exact amount. However, now even with the pill, I can only ring it 7 times, which is not more than Mo Fei. This Mo Fei is extremely strong. In the cultivation world, he can be considered number 1 below the ascendant stage. Even ascendant cultivators would need to be at the mid-stage to be a match for him." Xianxia revealed killing intent as he looked at Mo Fei, who had closed his eyes to cultivate after turning and letting out a cold snort. Aside from them, there were several people among the demon generals that were calculating how many times they could beat the drums and their chances of entering the top 10. The golden-armored man coldly looked at the crowd. His eyes contained ridicule as he pointed at Wang Lin and slowly said, "You come out!" Wang Lin calmly arrived at the top of the square. His eyes were like lightning as he looked at the golden-armored man and calmly said, "I am not called you, my name is Wang Lin." The golden-armored man didn't hide the killing intent in his eyes and said, "Wang Lin, do you dare to bet with me?" Wang Lin said, "Speak. I bet that you can beat the drum 5 times. If you can, then I'll personally recommend you to the Demon Emperor and guarantee you will at least get the position of Demon General. But if you lose, you will have to take responsibility for injuring a Demon General. If you don't dare to bet, then scram off this stage and get the hell out of Sky Demon City. You are not welcome here." After the golden-armored man finished speaking, sounds of discussions filled the area. Beat it 5 times? Although this foreigner beat Audi, ringing this drum is a true test. At most, I think he can ring it 3 times, and that's already considered pretty good. That Audi at most can only ring it once. Audi is only considered mid-tier among demon generals. Shishao, Mofei, Yusen, and many others can easily win against him. Wang Lin beating Aodai doesn't mean much. The Golden Chief Steward is interesting to make a bet with this foreigner. The Yellow Vice Commander-in-Chief smiled at the Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief and said, "The person you chose seems to have some bad luck." Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief looked at Wang Lin before letting out a snort and saying, "The Golden Chief Steward will experience a big surprise." Wang Lin calmly looked at the golden-armored man and gradually revealed a faint smile. However, when this faint smile landed in the Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief's eyes, he couldn't help but feel a chill. The Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief clenched his teeth and thought, "He also smiled like this when he attacked me back then." Wang Lin faintly smiled. "I don't need you to recommend me to the Demon Emperor." The golden-armored man revealed contempt and said, "You don't dare to bet." Wang Lin's voice was like the cold wind from the 9th level of hell. "I won one of your hands." This sentence caused everyone to be shocked. Just at this moment, Wang Lin stepped toward the demon drum. The golden-armored man revealed a hint of killing intent in his eyes and smiled. "If you can ring it more than 5 times, I'll give you a hand. Hell, if you can ring it 10 times, I'll give you both my hands. No problem." This Wang Lin is simply too arrogant. I'm afraid he is overestimating himself. How can ringing this drum be that simple? When this person experiences the backlash from the demon drum, he will know just how wrong he is. This is unfortunate for Molehai. I'm afraid that because of this person, he will have no face for the next 300 years. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he walked toward the demon drum. He walked very calmly and stopped right before the demon drum. He didn't try to beat the drum from far away to lessen the force of the backlash. After arriving directly below the demon drum, Wang Lin floated into the air. Looking at the huge demon drum, it was as if he could feel a faint fishy smell from it. The surface of this drum wasn't smooth like a mirror, and instead had many concave points and subtle veins. It was just like a piece of hide from a monster. Skin of the ancient demon. Wang Lin stretched out his right hand and touched the demon drum. When he touched it, he felt waves of force pushing back at him. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed. At this moment, all of the life seals gathered on his body. More than 3,000 life seals completely surrounded him. "Bet that I can hit it more than 5 times." Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and took out a wine jug. The wine jug was filled with wine. He grabbed it with his left hand and took a big gulp, then he smiled. "Lord Golden Armor, watch carefully." Wang Lin's right hand formed a seal and then punched at the demon drum. Dong! The sound of the drum echoed across the square and the sky like rolling thunder. Wang Lin's body didn't move at all as he withdrew his fist 3 inches, and right after he did so, he punched once more. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. Dong, 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 dong. 4 times in a row. These 4 rings from the drum came out at the same time, caught up to the first ring, and silently fused together. It created this storm of sound that spread wildly with the demon drum as the center. The square began to shatter inch by inch as if there was a giant earth dragon moving underneath it. In the sky, the thunder created by the drum became even more powerful. Countless people in the stands coughed out blood as they directly suffered serious internal injuries from this 5-in-1 drum beat. There were even several people that were completely knocked unconscious by the sound. Aside from the Heaven Commander-in-Chief, the remaining 7 Commander-in-Chiefs all stood up and revealed looks of disbelief. The expression of the golden-armored man on the square changed greatly. The 5 thunderous drum beats were in tea very shocking. What really shocked everyone was that Wang Lin's body hadn't moved at all. The yellow vice commander-in-chief shouted, This is impossible. The end of the month is here. Wishing for the like button for the video. Brothers, do you still have likes for the video? You are listening to a completely free audiobook on the Leo Audio YouTube channel. If you enjoy the story, please like the video to motivate the channel. Support Leo with a cup of coffee through the description link or on the screen. If you want to hear any other stories, just comment and let Leo know. Thank you very much for watching the video. Chapter finished. Elder Ouyang gave Wang Lin a scornful look. He said, You re only a little junior. What right do you have to trade with me? If you take out the treasure left behind by the Xianxia sect's founder, I might exchange 1 drop of poison with you. Wang Lin frowned. He secretly sneered. Then, he activated his attraction technique to full force and grabbed. Elder Ouyang's face instantly changed. Junior,
waved his sleeve, and an old-looking flying sword came out.
The moment the flying sword came out, wind started to gather and formed a giant sword in the air. The sword swung down. The moment the sword appeared, a hint of killing intent appeared in Elder Ouyang's eyes. This disciple was simply too strong, and he will become a threat to his Xuan Dao sect in the future. He wanted to take this opportunity to destroy his cultivation. Huang Long's face darkened. He realized what Ouyang's intent was and immediately took out his sword. Wang Lin let out a laugh. His attraction technique reached its limit, and the invisible hand he created turned visible. 2 large hands that emitted white light appeared. Swirls of light appeared around the hands, and all of the clouds surrounding them scattered. One of the giant hands grabbed hold of the neck of the centipede. The other hand rose up and blocked the sword that was coming down. The sword that was swinging down slowed down until it was stopped in midair. Elder Ouyang's face was all red as he revealed a look of horror. The other 2 elders clenched their teeth. Disregarding their status, one spat out a rainbow-colored light that turned into a rainbow-colored ribbon. It shot toward Wang Lin. Meanwhile, the other elder threw out a piece of jade. 8 ghostly fireballs appeared and shot at Wang Lin. A strong heat wave reached Wang Lin, but his expression didn't change at all. He created another hand with his attraction technique. That hand created a swirl of wind around him, causing the ghostly fire to fade. All of this happened very quickly. Huang Long let out an angry roar and formed a seal with his hand. His flying sword, the purple moon, flashed toward the rainbow-colored ribbon. Using this time, Wang Lin quickly moved toward the 1,000-foot centipede. With his attraction technique holding the centipede, no matter how hard it struggled, it couldn't break free. Wang Lin placed his right hand on the centipede's head and activated his spiritual energy. The centipede let out a painful howl and coughed out a black mist. All of this lasted only a few seconds. No one even had the time to react yet. Both sects' elders stood on each side of the centipede, ready to fight. When Dao Shu saw the centipede cough out the poison, he was afraid that Wang Lin wouldn't have anything to hold the poison, so he waved his sleeve and threw out a white bottle. He shouted, Disciple Wang Lin, use this to hold the poison. After that, he took his flying sword and started fighting the Xuan Dao sect elder that let out the ghostly fire. The 3 elders of the Xuan Dao sect were all furious that they were stopped by the Xianxia sect elders and were unable to stop Wang Lin. When Wang Lin saw that the centipede coughed out the poison, he quickly moved back a bit. He took the bottle and used his spiritual energy to move the poison into the bottle. Elder Ouyang furiously shouted, Xianxia sect, you've gone too far. Wang Long secretly sighed. He put away his sword and backed away. The other elders all did the same. Wang Lin's face showed hints of regret. This centipede's poison could be the cure for his father's illness, so he was determined to get it no matter what. He clasped his hands and said, Elder Ouyang, this centipede's poison is very important to me. I have something that can be considered a fair trade for it. With that, he threw out a very normal-looking jade bottle. The bottle was filled with the river water he had stocked up on from the back mountain. Elder Ouyang's face was sullen. He was about to speak when carefully scanned the jade bottle. He frowned and said, I heard that, 500 years ago, several nascent soul cultivators of the Xianxia sect created a cultivation ground with spiritual energies several times higher than normal. I guess this liquid came from there. When the cap on the bottle was opened, a strong aura of spiritual power leaked out. Wang Long gave the jade bottle a look, then rubbed his beard. He said, "This brat." He even brought out a bottle of river water. Elder Ouyang grunted. He weighed the bottle in his hand, then said, "Friend Huang Long, your Heng Yue sect has a very good disciple. Goodbye." With that, he glanced at Wang Lin. After pondering for a while, he sent a message to Wang Lin. "Nephew disciple Wang, I can let this matter about the centipede poison go. But the Heng Yue sect no longer has any nascent soul ancestors behind them, so stay at your own risk." With that, he touched the 1,000-foot centipede. The centipede glared at Wang Lin and flew north. At that moment, Wang Lin noticed that, on top of that centipede, there was a pair of attractive eyes looking at him. He was stunned. His mind was still echoing with the words of Elder Ouyang. As for the owner of that pair of attractive eyes, after looking at the person once, he didn't even take it to heart. After the Xuan Dao sect had left, the entire Pine Peak was silent. Wang Long's eyes swept the area. Smiling, he said, "Today exchange is won by my Heng Yue sect. All inner disciples will be rewarded. All of you can go to the pill house to get a bottle of spiritual energy gathering pills. You all have to follow Wang Lin's example." All of the inner disciples started to cheer one by one. As of now, no one dared to call him trash anymore. Wang Zhuo's heart was in chaos. He said to Xuan Dao, "Teacher, disciple wants to go into the life and death passage. I will no longer concern myself with other affairs." Dao Shu let out a sigh. Wang Zhuo was his favorite disciple, so he knew of the issues between Wang Lin and Wang Zhuo. He pondered for a while, then nodded and said, "Fine, you can take this opportunity to hide from Wang Lin as well." Wang Zhuo let out a bitter smile, but didn't say a word. Wang Long spoke again. "All of you can leave. Wang Lin, come with me." Wang Lin nodded. His gaze swept the crowd and landed on third elder brother Lun. He said, "Third elder brother, wait a moment." The end of the month, wishing for the like button for the VIDEO, Don T hold back, it's expiring. Chapter 590 words that evoke laws. The Xuan Vice Commander-in-Chief thought, what isn't impossible? As long as it is that Wang Lin, what isn't impossible? He let out a sigh. If it wasn't for the fact that he was too arrogant and had underestimated Wang Lin like everyone else here, he wouldn't still be injured right now. Aside from the Heaven Commander-in-Chief, the other Commander-in-Chiefs all stood up, and their eyes were like sharp swords as they stared at Wang Lin. Waves of shock and disbelief appeared in their hearts. The Vice Commander-in-Chiefs below them were all completely stunned, and their hearts trembled violently as they stared at Wang Lin. It has to be said that there were people here we could ring it 5 times. There were even people who could ring it 5 times in a row, but the shockwave created when the 5 rings fused into one could be described as heaven shaking. This kind of violent backlash was not something a demon general could withstand. Even the genius demon general, Mo Fei, could only withstand 3 in a row. If there was a 4th, he would without a doubt lose. Yet Wang Lin was able to ring it 5 times in a row. If the combined shockwave was able to seriously injure Wang Lin or make him retreat in a sorry state, then people might be been willing to reluctantly accept it. However, this person didn't even move at all. He floated next to the demon drum as if he hadn't rang it himself. Or it was as if he was hitting a normal drum, as there wasn't any rebound at all. How is this possible? I am not mistaken, right? He just casually rang it 5 times. There must be a problem here. This cultivator must have used some underhanded method. Yusen spent painstaking effort to ring it 4 times, yet this person just casually rang it 5 times. However, Mo Fei was about to ring it 8 times, and this person definitely can do more than that. Endless cries of shock came from the crowd. They weren't unfamiliar with Wang Lin's figure. A few days ago, he was the first person to seriously injure a demon general, engraving his figure into people's minds. However, these ministers, ladies, and various officials of the Sky Demon City didn't think that Wang Lin was that strong. In their eyes, the key reason why Ao Dai lost and was seriously injured was because Ao Dai was too weak. If this Wang Lin had encountered people like Mo Fei or Shi Xiao, then he would without a doubt have lost. This was something everyone was very confident about. However, now this Wang Lin, who they disliked a lot, was able to ring the drum 5 times in almost a trivial manner. This scene shocked everyone. Some people even suspected that the demon drum was broken. However, they realized they were wrong after seeing that some of the people around them were seriously injured or knocked out, and the demonic spiritual energy in their own bodies was going crazy. The feeling of their demonic spiritual energy almost being shocked out of their bodies immediately dismissed the idea that the demon drum was broken. Also, the cracked square with the demon drum at the center showed just how powerful the impact from before was. To be able to create such destruction on a square reinforced with countless restrictions could only be described as unbelievable. Almost all of the commander-in-chief sucked in breaths of cold air. Yu Sen bitterly smiled as he shook his head and completely gave up on the idea of battling Wang Lin. The only female demon general, Shi Lian, was wearing full body armor. Although it was full body armor, it was still extremely revealing, so it showed off her beautiful curves. Her purple gauntlet revealed her pearly white arms. Her top covered her two peaks and revealed her slender waist. A black tattoo started from her snow-white neck, went down through her chest, and extended to her waist. Her lower armor was armored leaf blades that circled around her, covering up her plump butt, and her pair of jade legs had greaves covering them. She gave off the feeling of a heroic beauty. This woman was wearing a helmet that covered her face. Only her beautiful eyes could be seen, and they were shining brightly as she looked at Wang Lin. Among the demon generals, Shi Xiao's eyes lit up as he carefully looked at Wang Lin. Chen Tao softly whispered, "I have already said that this person is extremely strong." Shi Xiao let out a cold snort and didn't say a word, but his expression darkened. Among the demon generals, only Mo Fei didn't look at Wang Lin. Instead, he silently watched the distant horizon. The Dalu sword sect cultivator stared at Wang Lin with undisguised killing intent. Among all this noise, the golden-armored man's expression was extremely ugly. He looked at the demon drum, and his hands clenched tightly into a fist. Wang Lin withdrew his right hand from the drum before turning around and looking at the golden-armored man. All of the noise stopped as he turned around, and all of their gazes gathered on Wang Lin. Wang Lin pointed at the golden-armored man, and calmly said, "You lost!" The rebound force from beating the drum earlier was blocked by the life seals around Wang Lin's body. However, the rebound was extremely powerful, so it took over 2,000 layers of life seals before this power was completely neutralized. The life seals couldn't be destroyed unless all 3,000 plus seals were destroyed in an instant. Otherwise, they would recover. This was the true strength of the life seals. No wonder that gray-robed Alcer said that he had 1 billion life seals and that he would be perfectly fine even if planet Tianyun were to explode. A spell with this kind of defensive power is extremely rare. After the golden-armored man heard Wang Lin's words, his expression turned even uglier. He let out a cold snort and said, "I said you could not exceed 5 rings. Are you a fool that can understand the meaning of my words? You rang it 5 times and it hasn't exceeded 5, so it is not your win." After he said that, some of the people in the stands felt that this golden-armored chief steward's morals were too low. Wang Lin shot a cold look at the golden-armored man, then his right hand formed a fist and hit the demon drum behind him. Dong! The 6th ring came from the drum and echoed across the square. This ring from the bell caused everyone's hearts to skip a beat. A powerful rebound force suddenly emerged from demon drum as if there was a powerful gust of wind blowing Wang Lin's hair back. The already shattered square immediately began to shake once more as if there was a giant dragon moving underneath it. Wang Lin's right hand didn't stop as he coldly looked at the golden-armored man, whose expression was even gloomier, and punched with his right fist once more. Dong! The 7th sound from the drum echoed across the sky. If the first 6 rings of the demon drum could be considered raging waves, then the rebound force of the 7th ring could be considered a flash flood. Demon General Mo Fei could ring it 6 times without being injured, but on the 7th time he was forced back and his armor was shattered to pieces. This showed just how powerful the rebound from this 7th ring was. The 7th ring sounded, and at this moment, the sky changed color. A storm gathered with the demon drum as the center and began to spread like crazy. Wang Lin's right hand was motionless, and he stood up straight in the air. His right hand was still touching the demon drum as his gaze fell on the golden-armored man. This 7th ring caused thunderous rumbling sounds to occur in the sky, and Wang Lin's voice slowly came out of these thunderous rumbles. 7 times now. The golden-armored man's face twitched as he stared at Wang Lin and said, "I'll recommend you to the Demon Emperor." Wang Lin shook his head and calmly said, I want one of your hands. You dare? The golden-armored man shouted loudly. His eyes were filled with killing intent as shouted, Say that again. I want one of your hands. At the moment Wang Lin's voice came out, his right hand hit the demon drum again. Dong! The 8th ring from the drum spread out like tens of thousands of waves. This ring echoed with Wang Lin's words and began to spread like crazy in all directions. I want one of your hands. At this moment, it was as if that was the only sound left in this world. This was because Wang Lin had used the power of the 8th ring from the demon drum to affect the heavens. Thunderous roars echoed in the sky as if the sky was about to collapse. Among the deafening rumbling sounds, that sentence felt like it wasn't said by Wang Lin but by the heavens. The earth! It was like a roar from the world. It was as if God had opened his eyes to look over the land. This sound represented the world. The heavens and earth fused with the sound of the drum to form that sentence. Although that sentence wasn't as loud as thunder, it was more shocking. This unimaginable force caused the golden-armored man's expression to suddenly turn pale. He involuntarily took a few steps back, his ears buzzed and his face turned deathly pale. At that moment, he had the illusion that he was facing the world. The demonic spiritual energy inside his body went crazy, and he even had a trace of an impulse to cut off his own arm. The surrounding people were all shocked. They no longer had the courage to talk like before, so the entire square was abnormally quiet. Aside from a few select individuals among the spectators, everyone else knew without a doubt that if Wang Lin had said that to them just now, they would have cut off their own arms. That sound just now was the might of the heavens. That sound just now was law, the majestic and dominating words from the heavens. Among the demon generals, Mo Fei moved his gaze away from the sky and onto Wang Lin for the first time. Among the commander-in-chiefs, aside from the heaven commander-in-chief, who still hadn't looked at Wang Lin, the other 7's expressions changed slightly. Their eyes revealed mysterious lights as they looked at Wang Lin. Words that evoke law. The 7 commander-in-chiefs looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. None of them noticed that at the moment that voice came, the heaven commander-in-chief's always closed eyes opened slightly and revealed a hint of confusion. Among the vice commander-in-chiefs, the yellow vice commander-in-chief was completely startled, and the Xuan vice commander-in-chief let out a sigh. The golden-armored man's face was completely pale, but he quickly recovered. He stared at Wang Lin and slowly said, Your voice fused with the power of the drum and thus borrowed the power of the heavens. Unfortunately, you borrowed the power of the demon drum. If you could achieve words that evoke law with your own strength, then forget about my arms. Even if you wanted my life, I'd willingly hand it over. A grand chapter. Not caring to read 4,500 words, can bear to split it into 2 chapters. As the donkey dies a martyr, tears flow wishing for the like button for the video.